actually be going to try to fake things to make you believe certain things come from God when they come from bad guys. So it's going to get real tricky here.
Well, the thing that disgusts me the most is that they're stealing our visions and our inventions and even parts of our personality.
Yeah, that's why they've integrated the occult deep into the military, the police departments, everything. It is taken over. But we
my
have to be
vision
more strong-willed.
Yeah, exactly. Our visions still trump their machinery.
Yeah, we just have to know and keep mindful of our spirit and guard our spirit, and do not let the power of fear, because just like in that movie, supposedly on these other planets intergalactically, and Stephen Hawkins even talks a little bit about this, which, you know, he doesn't believe in God, but anyway, it talks about that they get their power from fear. If they can induce fear, they can smell you. And, well, you know, we know Satan can smell fear, and they prey on that. And if you just are resilient and you refuse and say, no, I'm a warrior.
Yeah, no, I'm not scared of Satan anymore. I used to be, but they've tortured me so much that I'm not scared of him anymore.
Good. Yeah, just keep your spirit intact and know God is in control. There will be, like Karen said, many imitations, that they're going to imitate the God voice. They already have done that. When I was called up for Iraqi freedom, they were doing that over there, and a lot of people came back with schizophrenia because it was induced through the occult, through the anthrax shots that they took.
Sounds like a lead-up.
And they use many different methods in war, as they do with everything, to play God. But we don't have to accept that. We just have to, once we recognize certain things, then we can know, like she said, to be aware. We may not be able to do everything about everything, but we know that we have to stand our ground and know what's real and what's not. And if we don't know, then go to prayer.
Satan categorizes everyone as being disobedient. He tries to. He really tries to. He uses heat.
I didn't know. I want to get more into, if anybody's interested, I know Terry wants to start some Bible calls, which I really do want to talk about, is beyond the Bible. There's supposedly 12 tribes in the Middle East that started in the book of Genesis. So we have to go all the way back to Genesis, and during Genesis, and even before that, because I didn't know Enoch was Noah's father. So the book of Enoch, there's 5 different books. Has to do with astronomy, has to do with dreams, has to do with parables. And these are things
I did not know that Enoch was Noah's father. Enoch was raised from the dead, and Noah lived really a long time. I don't. Do any of you remember how long Noah lived?
I don't know, but and then was he called Abraham? Yeah, I think he was considered Abraham, just like when God named
lineage,
a different name, and you know, Peter and all the apostles, different names and what they were given initially.
Wow.
So we have to be mindful of that too.
Yeah, sure.
They were born with a Jewish name, but he gave them different names.
I think Sumaya does calls on that, on Bible.
That would be cool. I would love.
Sumaya does that.
No more.
Do you get Derek's newsletter? Because her name is there, Sumaya.
No, I don't. I'm pretty
no more is
closed
not
off.
a word.
I've pretty much been off the grid, except for no email, no social accounts, no nothing, because they compromised all of that, because I had a lot of very high-profile senators and Pentagon officials on my email when I was called up, and I was contacting them, and I still do on certain topics, and that's why they have hit me hard. I do enjoy her. She's very knowledgeable and very delightful. But I want to ask Karen, I really commend you for going to Washington, D.C., and I'm wondering how that went, if you can share anything about your experience in D.C., because as soon as the group, your group went to D.C., our corrupt DA, who's stepping down a year before her time because her corruption, go to prison, one of the chief of police went to D.C. thinking that she was going to get mercy from Trump and get help when all the police are corrupt. In fact, they're stealing cars now off base, off Camp Pendleton. They did that with my car, civil forfeiture off private property, and they had no reason or no justification for it, and they knew they were caught with their pants down. When I brought my 2-star general down to the police station, I said, you think I'm kidding? I'm going to go, I have a senator in the CIA, and if you think I'm joking, this is a 2-star general here. He's fully connected, and you all are going to pay the price for this, and you are not going to hear the last of this. And I'll wait as long as I have to. I'll be patient, and I'll make my move, and everybody is going to be named in the civil suits, in the media, and I'm still going to continue to work with the Guardian newspaper, which in the 22nd of July, there's a new movie coming out called Risk with Julian Assange, and I think it's more elaboration on what he was doing. But I'd like to hear Karen's, what kind of feedback she got when she went to D.C. I wish I could have been there.
Karen too.
Okay, and some of that I didn't get, but you're asking me what happened when I went to D.C. for the protest about what, May 24th?
Yeah, I'm so grateful. We're so grateful that you went and Frank went and that you got to speak there, and hopefully some of the things that you said, some people took notice.
Well, I will tell you, I went Wednesday, and I believe Frank and some of the other people were not able to make it until Thursday. But I did go and meet up with Todd Giffen and Matthew Aaron and another lady named Ellie from, I think it was Pittsburgh, and then another couple of people came by for a little while and left. But it was pretty much Matthew Aaron, Todd Giffen, Ellie, and myself who stayed probably about 4 hours. And we had various placards and pictures that we took and were standing in front of the White House with, and we were answering questions and speaking with people.
Wonderful.
Well, we did have a Secret Service man come by, and he was in a black uniform, and it clearly said Secret Service, and he said, what are you doing here, and do you have a permit? So thank God, Frank got a permit, because we did refer to Frank, and he checked it out and said, okay, then you're good. And so we stood and talked to him for a while, and I identified myself. Of course, he didn't have any idea who I was, but I said I used to work for the National Security Agency, and I started talking to him about directed energy weapons, and I said, I gave him a couple sites, and he was taking notes, and I said, Secret Service needs to learn about these types of weapons, and I said, you will find that they were used in Iraq and possibly Afghanistan without any reportage on it, but I said they have been used in war, and they have basically been, I said, Pandora's box has been opened, because these things have been recreated, and people in the civilian world have them, including crooks. And I said, you guys are going to have to learn everything that you need to know about directed energy weapons. I said, in order to protect the president, the vice president, congressmen, senators, et cetera, it's got to be part of your job, because these things are out, and they are a danger to public officials as well as civilians. So I suggested that he go back with this information, tell his supervisor, and for them to go and research this so they could actually do their jobs better. So for me, that was the highlight of the entire trip, was to make contact with Secret Service and have them hopefully take it seriously.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's really encouraging.
The gang stalkers players, their main game is that of wiggle room, and I never liked using that expression wiggle room, because I would rather be free than have wiggle room.
I'm shocked that the Secret Service person didn't know about this. I'm curious to know what his background was. Obviously, he must have had military training. Because even Edward Snowden did.
Yeah.
He was in the Army.
Well, he looked to be about 28, 30, something like that, and he was dressed not in a suit and tie, but he was dressed in a, like a, what is it called?
Button-up shirt.
A bulletproof vest. He was in a black uniform, bulletproof vest with, a holstered gun, and so he was on the lower end of the Secret Service.
Sure. Well, it's good that she brought it to his attention, because I talk to I'm near the Camp Pendleton Marine Base, and I'm shocked at the level of people that I talk to that do not know what I'm talking about, that these things used on them, that they will end up being a victim and a fall guy and collateral damage. Just like they silenced Timothy McVeigh, they killed him because they didn't want him to come out with a book or a movie on his life and what really went on before they treated him, because he knew far more than what happened. They only know the surface stuff, just like what happened with that doctor in New York that killed people. A lot of people don't know, but he was from Nigeria. He was on a shadowing type, I don't know what I want to call visa, but he was not able to practice alone. He was shadowing someone, and that day that he did kill those people, that he was let go a year before that because of sexual harassment, because in his country, women are property. And it's still like that. You probably know about our major base in Djibouti, our Air Force base, where they have lockdown. They're not allowed to leave the base because they've killed many Westerners, and that's right near Yemen.
Well, can't the gang stalkers with remote neural monitoring see that TIs have better thinking?
Good question. I don't know.
There are a lot of bases and posts that they really do keep the Americans on base or post, because it's so horrifically dangerous for them to go off base or post, because the cultures are so very different as well.
We are. Somalia is right there, not far away. So we have, if anybody wants to really know a little more truth, that we shut down Stuttgart. Nobody goes to Stuttgart anymore for medical conditions because the government, military wants to hide everything they're doing in implants and making super soldiers and, implanting different things. So they send them to Djibouti. They don't send them to Stuttgart anymore. I talked to a special forces guy who'd been in 10 years, and my general had me call him in Maryland, and we had a conversation. He was livid. He was like me. He was single, so he was the perfect candidate. He was a super soldier. He was stellar. He got 6 anthrax shots. As soon as he got over there after a series of 6 anthrax shots, he went crazy because that's what it does. He was hearing voices and, all kinds of things. That's what it does. And then they put him in the brig for 30 days, and then they sent him to Stuttgart. And the civilian German doctor told him, "I'm sorry to tell you, but they gave you the live anthrax. So you will have delusions, and you will have schizophrenia for the rest of your life. I don't think we can give you drugs to offset that, but that is permanently now in your system."
Everyone that's spied on has better thinking, because that's their natural thinking, and not trying to speak for it.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to that didn't have schizophrenia before they went over there, that have it now. They didn't have it in their family. They don't do drugs. They don't drink. But they got the series of 6 anthrax shots by Biosport, which was produced in Lansing, Michigan.
Brother.
And that's just one of the ways that they can produce the paranoia, delusions, hearing voices. But now they can do it with MP Ultra. They can do anything with Tesla. They can do weather manipulation. Everything.
Mood, expression, thinking, sound.
Horrific. It's very definitely horrific. It's obscene. you know.
It is obscene. And had you heard about the scientist Bill Schneider? His father worked on the Montauk, Philadelphia experiment.
No, I had not. I've heard of the experiment, but I didn't know about Bill Schneider.
Look up Bill Schneider. He's from Oregon. He had a wife and a child. He has a YouTube video.
I don't know. He believes in chaos. I heard Snyder believes in chaos and kind of a flat Earth. Oh yeah, flat Earth theory.
Well, let me just say this: that he was a geologist, and then he became a what do you call it? He was helping to build these tunnels in Dulce, New Mexico, and then also in Area 51 he worked, and he also worked at the Denver under the airport, which is now the second CIA headquarters. Is there, near the Air Force Academy.
I don't doubt it.
The biggest NORAD communication grid center.
What is NORAD?
So there's a lot of cult there, and anyway, if you look up his YouTube, because I don't want to get into it because it sounds really out there, and I don't want to, sound like a, out there. Dr. Phil Schneider gave a speech in '96, and he said he would be killed for talking about the deep underground. It's called DUMS.
What is NORAD?
Wait, let me finish. Deep underground military. Deep underground military stations. Yeah, and he talks about what he saw and this treaty that we have with these, I don't want to say aliens, with these fallen angels, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, aliens.
That in exchange for this technology, the original fallen angels that fell from heaven, this really did happen, and they exchanged
it's in the book of Revelation, chapter 13.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they gave us the technology for lasers, for time travel, for different materials that are not made on this earth. Like, they don't need flying saucers to go to other planets. They can just orb, because when God wiped them out, with Noah,
I read all about Phil Schneider twice. He was an exceptional man, and he lectured, and that's how he got killed.
Yeah,
and he got hurt down in the dumps. You're going off left field, and I read about him twice. He was a very good man, and he was a whistleblower. Okay?
Yeah, he was.
So don't go into it. You can't go into left field with it, honey, because I know I read it twice.
And I don't know if you know.
I know bees like honey.
Do you know Diane Rourke? She's from Oregon. She was NSA.
I know of her. I don't know her.
Look up Diane Rourke, R-O-A-R-K, and she worked at the higher levels of NSA at the Pentagon, and they ransacked her house and confiscated all her things.
Yeah.
So,
Karen, do you have anything else to say? Tell us.
But I just want to thank you for everything you're doing for the community.
Well, you guys are well worth it, and I've said before, I kind of felt depressed when I started being harassed and stalked and things like that, and then I started digging into it and found out how very many people were being abused. It just kind of invigorated me, and I said, oh, heck no. And so the more people I've met in this situation, the more I'm astonished that somehow they've managed to pick out all the very best people to pick on. And you guys are well worth it. You're well worth fighting for. And so, you guys thank me, but you're well worth it, and all of you are doing all that you can do as well. So it's a team effort.
Yeah, Frank's doing a great job. Everybody contributes. I'm thankful.
Hello, Frank.
Anytime I find something out, I always go on the call and tell. Because
that helps so much, and I can't even begin to tell you how many people reach out to help Romola, Catherine, myself, and others. And it's a team effort, believe me.
Yes, I watch your videos. They're good. I like them. They're very good. They're very
thank you, but
informative.
it's not just us. It's everybody like you guys reaching out and saying, hey, did you know this? Hey, did you see that?
Yep.
And then telling us,
Yep.
you know, it's what you see on the video is all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very good.
Everybody's got something good to bring to the table.
Hello, Frank.
Yes.
The number one thing is we're not alone. You know, there's plenty of us out here, and we just need to bond together and do something about it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right. And I tell people, look, you may have one idea or one input, and that may be the key that brings everything down. So get in touch with somebody and tell us. Send us an email. Send us a text. Say something on a program like this. You've got input.
Well, they're good guys, you know. Like, why did they say that everyone's a good guy, though? I don't understand how someone could come off saying everyone's a good guy.
What?
I'm saying all the TIs I've met, almost every single one has been a really outstanding
all the suffering
person.
that we're going through, something good comes out of it, just like 9/11. You know, they thought they would defeat us, but, you know, how it really happened and what happened in the whole thing, the excuse to go to war, was all a lie, but it just made us come together, be stronger.
Oh yeah, you got to come together. You got to strive to be a good guy or a good gal.
Oh my God!
That's what.
Totally inappropriate.
Big game.
Hey, not meaning to interrupt, guys, but Frank, I just want to say some. This is Terry from Oregon. If I can get a chance to speak with you guys and give you some feedback real quick, I'd like to do that. And Karen Stewart, I would really like to thank for everything that you've done.
Yeah,
thank you.
Huh?
Terry's welcome.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Oh, Karen's fantastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
she is. So if you get a minute that I can talk to everybody, I'd be glad to. Otherwise, I'll sit and wait my turn. Thank you.
Well, speak up, Terry. We want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Some of you guys know me as Terry from Oregon, and I run StopGangStalkingCrimes.com. And I want to give you some feedback about what I've been doing. Most of you know I put signs on my truck.
Sure.
I wear T-shirts wherever I go out of the house, and I pass out flyers to everybody, including law enforcement, ambulance drivers, everything. I just want to reiterate to you guys, this is really working. I now have 5 other people that say they're doing this. And they say what I call the ground soldiers, which is the stalking part of this, is going away for them. Mine has been gone for months now. I have no ground stalkers. Of course, my due has gone way up. That's just probably because I'm up doing things in a lot. But don't let that discourage you. I want to encourage every one of you guys. I was sitting down with Linda today. We were doing some reading and researching together. You guys the psychiatrists say if you guys get out of the house, do it once a day, go somewhere, volunteer. It will make you feel better. These things, I'm proving them to work. Get out and volunteer, go out and hand out flyers, get a T-shirt made. Most of you guys know I set up my website so you can have a...
Terry, the gang stalkers are going to pick up the flyers that I put on someone's windshield if I walk away.
No, you don't. Okay, let me finish, please. The flyers that I hand out, I don't go out and hand them out to people. I wear T-shirts on the side of my car. It says, it's got my spiel, and it says, ask for flyer. My T-shirts on the bottom say, ask for flyer. People approach me. I don't go hand them out to people. People ask. I want to share something very incredible that happened yesterday. I went to Harbor Freight, if any of you guys know who that company is.
Yep.
And my dad was with me. Assistant manager at Harbor Freight had seen me in there several times. She stopped me in there with my dad, and she says, can you bring me back some flyers and documentation? I am going to sit down with my employees and go over it with them. It's time to stop this crime. We can all get out of our houses and do this. It's proven.
What?
And
Outstanding.
I'm telling you guys.
Stop Gang Stalking Crimes.
Yeah. So hold on, please let me finish, guys. I realize people like to make noises when I get on calls and stuff, but what I'm trying to tell you is very important. What I'm trying to tell you is all the stuff that I've seen people do for the last 12 years, and people like Karen Stewart, they've done a great job. But I think what we need to do right now is we need to get out of our houses. We got to get rid of our fear. We got to get out and talk to people. Once you get rid of your fear, you can live. The people that know me, and I even had TI come to a barbecue yesterday, and she met with my church. We invited 67 people. Only one TI showed up. But the church was going to let me have a TI. The pastor stood up in front of the congregation and told the whole congregation that I'm not a crazy person and everything I've been telling people is real. If you guys learn your technology, and what to say, get a 30-second to 1-minute statement, have flyers and talk to people and let them basically approach you. You have a T-shirt on, they'll stare at you. You'll see certain signs. They'll come up and ask you questions. I've had up to 7 people waiting for me when I came out of the Autobahn Society here in Portland. 7 people waiting to ask me questions about the sign that's on my rig. We can all do this, guys. We have an army. All we got to do is use them. And you guys are the army. You guys that are in your houses and stuff, get out, pass out flyers. Go pick your favorite website, pick out shirts that say stuff that direct. I'll tell you, when I first got my T-shirt that I get the most, it says directed energy weapons used on targeted individuals. I get more response out of that than any T-shirt I own. I'll tell you something else. I have an assistant manager at a Walmart store. This was a few months back. She left a message for one of the employees the next time they see me to come in to drop off some information at her office about this.
That's awesome.
So this is why I'm sharing this with you guys, and I'm going to try to get on all the shows I can and stuff, and I'm really going to push this, and I realize some of you guys out there think that I'm crazy and you're worried about your targeting stuff.
Oh.
I want to tell you something. You do not have a personal life. Everything that is ever going to be known about you, they know. So you have nothing to hide from anybody, your names or anything.
Right.
And anybody that's going to bother you already knows. And much more that you don't realize, I was doing some reading today, most of the United States is all monitored by the NSA and stuff too. Their personal information is everywhere also. They're kind of in the same position, maybe not as deep. So you guys got nothing to lose but get out of your house and do this stuff. So if I got this down and I got rid of my stalkers, that means those people that I've convinced are out spreading the word. A lot of them are perps. I handed my perps flyers. I didn't call them perps. You want to keep a smile. If you feel you're getting upset, walk away. But you hand your perps flyers. A lot of them don't know about the target directed energy weapons. 2 old guys I talked to one day, when I got done talking to them, they were so upset about what they're involved in. Me and my mom had seen them for months follow me around in stores. They left. I'm telling you guys, we can take back our power.
Send me a copy. Send me a copy of the flyer, because I'd like to talk about what you're doing on the Techno Crime Fighters. It may not be tomorrow, but certainly by next week.
I would too.
Send me a copy of the flyers and tell me in a synopsis what you're, what
anybody
you're
can
send me an email, and so we can cover it on the Techno Fighters. Okay.
Yeah, let's have the email.
Okay.
And
my email for
I'm going to have you on.
My email is stopgangstalkingcrimes@gmail.com, just like my address is stopgangstalkingcrimes.com, but it's just at Gmail, stopgangstalkingcrimes@gmail.com. My phone number is there. On my website, you guys. If anybody has any questions, you need support or anything, I got other people on there to help and support. Flyers are on there. You can order T-shirts. The biggest thing about the flyers, my latest flyer, it just has a little PDF symbol on it right now. I got to change that. I'm going to make a photocopy and get it on there so you guys can do it, but it's still there for download. It's been getting really good results. So I basically want to wrap this up. There's much more I'd like to tell you guys, but it would take a little bit further to tell you. But there's other things that have happened that are very incredible. Like I said, my church, my whole church is behind me. They welcome me. They've told me that any TI can come to church there. And if you guys know how huge it is to have an entire church tell you that you can invite 67 TIs to the church to have a barbecue on the 4th. That was huge. And some of them came to meet the people. Now, granted, only one person showed up. I think she had a lot of fun. We all hung out. but we can all do this, guys. Get out. I'm willing to help out anybody the way I can. I also have a T-shirt contest for those of you that don't know. If you send to my email and put enter me in the T-shirt, I'm giving away one T-shirt every month. You'll get to pick the lettering on it, and you'll get to pick the website you want directed to. I'm not even asking you to use my website on it. Just as long as you want to enter the contest and wear a T-shirt once in a while, that's all that counts to me. You don't have to use my flyers. There's some other flyers on there. If you guys find flyers you'd like to see on my website, you want to make one, make them up, email them to me. I'll read them over, and I will put them on my website. My website is for all of us. I am in this fight to win it. And we can do this. And I'm telling you guys right now, and everybody, if you get involved in this, and you get a T-shirt and you start handing out flyers and people will start approaching you, the public will get to know you, and people around you will not look at you as crazy. They'll look at you as a person that's an activist, and you're out fighting. The people that know me, Linda Costanza can verify this. She's talked to my mom on the phone. Every member of my family is behind me. Every single person. My mom's got on the talk shows. You guys can regain your families if you get out and act as activists. Learn your stuff. Don't talk to your family and ramble to them. Learn your technos. Learn about Karen Stewart. Learn about Julie McKinney. Learn about Robert Duncan. Learn the facts. Go back and talk to your family very slow, little bits at a time. Have your family call me. Yeah.
I just wanted to make something very clear that people probably aren't aware of. We're all going to go down in history as the group that put this in the ground.
We are. We are going to, you guys, what Frank said is very true. We are going to go down in history as the group that solved and brought to light one of the largest criminal organizations in history. It's in every country and every place. Now, this is the last thing I got to say, and I want every person, whether you agree with me or not, please go and tell this. I've been working on this for a long time. I tried to be part of something to work things together. Here's what we got to do on top of getting T-shirts and wearing out flyers. I even have signs in my rig. You guys can see those on my website, so you can see what I'm doing with my rig. Tell the leaders, all the moderators, every website across the United States, every single one of them. Let's just work right here in the U.S. right now. Tell the leaders that all us leaders need to work together. All of us websites, we need to share information. All the positive stuff. All the moderators need to share information. We got to quit fighting among us TIs. We got to start working with brotherly love towards each other. Quit the racism that's recently happened in the talk shows. If those people can't stop it, I hate to see this, and I really don't feel this way, but moderators need to shut them out. And some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Sorry, but that's gone on too far. It's destroying our community. So what I'm telling you is, if you have a favorite website, you got Neil, you got Derek, whoever, your favorite moderator, Ella, everybody, tell everybody that the leaders need to start contacting each other, and we need to work. If we work as a collective across the U.S., all of us leaders, we can share calls, dates, groups to meet up. Collectively, we can have the same flyers, the same T-shirts, produce the same information. We can get all the meetups put together. We can start ordering barbecues, different things for people to go to zoos. We need to do things other than focus on this too. If we get all the leaders together, we can share this information and we can fight. And the people who have led this fight before us, like me, like Karen Stewart and these other ones who have to be on right now, we can identify their work, because if we help beat this and they're still here, they're going to feel much better about all the work they put into it. So please urge your leaders to all start emailing each other, talking to each other on the phone. If we all start working together, the leaders in our community, and sharing information, I'm talking about all the calls, all the meetups, all of it. Because there's a lot out there that we don't know. This group here is just one little group across different groups all over the U.S. If we do this, trust me, we can win this. And if the TIs get out, we got our foot soldiers, what I call the foot soldiers, the stalkers. Well, we got our own army, which is every TI that's across the U.S. If you guys get out, we have an army. Who knows? There could be 1 million of us that could get out on the streets. Could you imagine how fast we can bring the word to 300 million Americans? So that's my spiel, guys. God bless you all, and thank you, and you have a nice night, and thanks for letting me speak, Frank.
Well worth it. Well worth it. Thank you so much.
With you.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a question. I'm joining the group again after getting cut off somehow. Is there a national organization that is organized for TIs?
Who are you directing that
the closest thing I know of is PACTS, and
Terry.
Oh, go ahead, Karen.
FSCHS, I believe, collapsed, and then PACTS, I think, came out of it, and there was, strife among leadership. Some people like PACTS, some people don't. I wouldn't say it's the organization, because I don't think we have a organization between us. There are just various organizations. If you look at the PACTS and you find it's good, then and work with it, and if you don't like it, then create your own, for Pete's sake. I mean, one of the things that I think I'd like to see is organization for each state, because I have put my email out there, and I've told people, look, somebody will contact me and say, I'm in Missouri, or I'm in Texas, or I'm somewhere, I need help. Well, obviously I can't go and help them, all over the United States. But what I'd like to do is if people would send me their, send me an email, say, basically I'm in Texas, and so I'll put your email and name, and I don't care if you give me a full name or just Jim or Susie or something. I'll put you in a list for Texas or for Indiana or for somewhere else like that. And if somebody else sends me an email from Indiana or Texas, then I'll say, okay, you guys live in the same state. Maybe I got 2 of you, maybe I have 3, maybe I have 5. But I'm going to send all of your emails to each other, and you guys talk to each other and decide, do you want to form a group? Do you want to form a support group? Do you want to form an activist group? Do you just want to be friends? Do you just, I mean, basically just trying to put people in touch with each other who are near each other, and maybe you can help each other a lot better than even I can help you, or anybody else can help you if you form your own group. And then if you have to go to the police department, or if you want to go to the governor or whoever, you've got maybe 5 or 6 people with you from the same state.
Love.
I don't have your email.
Okay, I am giving people KAMS56@me.com.
KAM as in Mary, S as in Sierra.
Yes. 56.
There's a sound between. Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure.
Somebody's making noise.
I'll tell you what it stands for. It's Karen Ann Melton Stewart. So it's KAMS 56, year I was born, at me.com.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to send me an email and say, I'm in Texas, I'm in Louisiana, then I'll try to collect those. And then once I get multiple people from each state or whatever state, I'm going to say, hey, send you a group message saying, all you guys are from Texas, here are your emails, introduce yourselves, and decide what do you want to do for each other. And I'm not going to ask people their cities, because I don't want somebody saying, oh, you're data collecting. Because people get untrustworthy. They basically don't trust people, and they get suspicious of you. So I don't want that. What I want to do is give you other people in your state, and you guys decide how far you want to go with it.
Karen?
Sure.
I don't know whether you're aware of it, but PACTS is actually divided up the country into 4 areas. And Desiree Foley has California along with Derek. Then Ken too, and myself, I handle the eastern states. That's why I call this call PACTS Eastern Conference. And we are setting up groups. We're setting up groups, and we just started actually probably no more than a month ago with this new board. And it's going along very nicely. So you can make referrals to myself or Desiree Foley or Cantu, and it's quite easy. If you want.
Okay, excellent. What you can send me their emails. Go ahead and send them, you know, and then get back to them, and I'll tell them what I'm doing and pass them on any names I've already collected. You know, I haven't collected very many.
Right.
You know, there hasn't been a great demand for it, but every so often I find somebody who would like to know who the heck is around me, because I need some support that's not across the country.
And I thought too, Karen, we both should bring up William Binney and Kirk Wiebe's survey, the one that Kate and Carla have worked so hard on. And I think you took part in that too, didn't you?
Yes, I was a beta tester.
Okay.
And, you know, they have the survey, and they're calling it I think, a symptom survey. So they're going to approach it from one way. They need, you know, as technical people and known NSA whistleblowers, they need to be able to correlate things and bring it up in a very scientific way. And so they're being extremely cautious and very methodical. So I think it's worth doing, and I know that other people have suggested, you know, different types of surveys, and I don't think that's a bad idea either, because depending on how you write the survey, it's for different purposes. Like Bill and Kirk may want one so that they can go public and say, this is going on from what we know about technology and its effects on human beings. We do believe these people, we think that they have a valid point, and that we are encouraging governments to look into this, you know, so that may be their perspective. Now, let's say you have somebody else make a survey that's supposed to basically sway somebody in a court of law. That could be a slightly different survey, but they're all worth doing. You know, surveys get designed for the purpose that they're intended to be used for. So I would encourage people, yes, to fill out, you know, Kirk and Bill's survey. But if you find another survey come to you from a valid source, don't dismiss this as, oh, I've already done a survey. No, because they can be just like, you know, medical operations for totally different purposes. You know, one is to repair a hip and the other one is to take out a gallbladder. So, you know, don't do one survey and dismiss others that seem to be from valid sources, because they can help you. You know, even if it's 2 or 3 surveys that you end up filling out for different sources, you know, for valid sources, go ahead and do it.
Did you get to, Karen, did you get to take your time on the survey, or did you rush it?
I didn't rush it. I took my time.
So you know where the save button was located? Because I didn't know where the save button was located, so I tried to do it overnight.
Oh, okay. You know, it's been a while. I beta tested, so it's been a while, so I don't remember the layout of the page. I'm sorry.
Actually, it has a number of save buttons on it. I think there are like half a dozen save buttons so that you can work.
Maybe for each section?
Yes, exactly. Each major section has a save button.
Well, it's a real survey. It's really good for everyone to take that's been targeted by V2S or R&M, DEW. Let's see some other good abbreviations about gang stalking.
Karen, before I leave, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Okay. It dawns on me that what if we look up the ties that died, all the targets that died, because there is a site that gives you all their names, and find out if they were insured, had a life policy there, a death policy.
You know what? Can you send me the site address, and I will bring that up. That is very good information, because it would prove the theory that we're working on.
Yeah, exactly.
I would also.
I will.
Well,
I will. And I'm
going
to get off now, so I'll do that, Karen. I will. Okay. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Like I said, everybody's got a contribution. Everybody's got a puzzle piece. You know, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I ask
she was tired.
Excuse
Can I
me?
ask a question,
sorry?
Karen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Is there a question
your
for
time,
me?
Yeah, your time at the NSA, what did other individuals, did they know about this? How did they feel about it? Your colleague?
Well, I will tell you,
Where did
NSA
Terry
is
Brewer
huge.
go?
I mean, there are like 20,000 people in Maryland that work for NSA, and there are all kinds of different directorates. Okay, one directorate could be research and
Development.
you know, like technological research, which I would not have been a part of because the directorate that I worked for had to do with research and reporting intelligence reports. Let's say, you know, I come in and they say, okay, Karen, let's say Russia has a brand new helicopter we don't know much about. We want you to research it and then write some reports on it. Okay? Or I could be in another office and they say, hey, we want to know what's going on diplomatically between China and Iran. So what they would do, and I didn't do it, but what they would do is take parameters and research this and pull in intercepts, and then I would see the intercepts and read them, or somebody would translate them if I didn't speak that language, then I would write a report and send it out. So what I'm telling you is that I worked in the area for NSA where we did research and reports on intelligence. You know, we sent out intelligence reports on things that were going on around the world, kind of like a news organization. So this other garbage would have been very deeply, probably within research and development, of which I would never have been a part of because I just don't have a technological background. I'm not a scientist. I would never have known what somebody in a different directorate was doing because they all had different clearances. You know, you had to have a certain clearance to do what I did, and then you had to have a certain different clearance to do what they did. I will tell you that nobody that I knew anything about this and didn't know until I told them after I became a victim of it. And they were horrified. I mean, one man said, I can't wait to retire and get, and it's pardon the French, you know, get the hell out of here. He said, I don't want to work here anymore. I can't believe that my employer is doing this.
Yeah, I couldn't believe either. When I was active duty, I did not know. And when I worked for like Hewlett-Packard, NEC, Verizon Wireless, I didn't know either that they were, you know, collecting data information on innocent people more than they were collecting from Russia or any of our adversaries.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, they basically are treating us like, you know, like possessions. You know, that they're going to farm us, that we are their possessions to do with as they want. And this is very post-Constitution, and we've got to grab that and you know, basically save the Constitution and save us, or we're doomed. You know?
Yeah, we have to look after it, or it's going to take us over.
Well, we're being subsumed by this evil. It's creeping in. It's like a cancer, you know, because people can go to the doctor and the doctor can say, I'm sorry, you're in 4th stage cancer, nothing I can do.
No, but cancer is a generic term. It's more like a plague.
Oh my God. Did they ever talk about when you were in NSA? Did they do they automatically chip everybody? Like I know after 2004, they chipped everybody in the military, and I don't know to this day if I have a chip. I don't have the money to go to a doctor or whatever kind of doctor I can have scanned to see if I have RFID chip.
You know, if they had said anything to me, and I was there 28 years, had they said anything about we're going to chip you, I would have said goodbye.
But you wouldn't know it.
Right.
Nobody
rejecting it.
There knows
they wouldn't tell you
that they were
They wouldn't
chipped.
tell you.
They may have been. NSA gave free flu shots to people, so they may have chipped them by doing that and not told them.
That was my thought. All the shots that we had to take going overseas. Yeah, they were deceptive about it.
Ooh, they may have been.
I would have thought our own country would turn. Hi guys, can I make a statement? It's Rochelle. Hi Karen and everyone.
Hey.
I've been a little busy lately because normally I like to keep in touch a little bit better than what I've been doing, but I've had a few battles going and getting back to work, and then pursuing some contacts with some human rights organizations, and so far I've been able to keep a couple of doors open with a couple of human rights organizations and submitting videos. I have gotten some pretty good feedback from one in particular that have sent a form to one of their forms to fill out after submitting my video, saying that they were interested in helping. And now I'm at their legal department level as far as them viewing it, and as they're viewing it, I'm continuing to send, additional videos as they, just to help persuade them to, to keep pursuing it. And so I'm kind of afraid to get a little bit happy about it at this point, not knowing what their final decision is going to be, but at least the door is still ajar, But what I did want to say is that I've been in contact with a few other TIs that for some reason don't connect to at least one podcast, and I've tried to convince them how important it is just to be informed, and then to not be discouraged, on just a lower level as far as she's.
Apparently we lost somebody.
That was me. Sorry, friend. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
But I was going to tell her and all the other TIs like you, Frank, that, going and getting a haircut is one of the best things for a TI.
Definitely. Clean cut. No, you brought up a good point.
I mean, I just talked to like 5 people. I was unreserved, and I told them, when I could, when it was appropriate, what, shit I've been through.
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry. I got disconnected somehow. But I'll wait till you're done and finish. Can anybody hear me at this point? It's Rochelle again. I'm sorry.
Hi, Rochelle. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Oh, okay. Did you hear what I was saying earlier? I don't know if that was coming through or not about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to add too that as fellow TIs, I think when we're asking for support from outsiders, we have to also recognize that sometimes we don't give support to each other also. And I spent quite a bit of time trying to convince at least one TI to take the survey, to, at least take part in at least one podcast just to be informed. There's a lot of important information out here that needs support. And it was, and at the end of that, decided not to. There was one excuse after the other, been there, done that, all of this defeatist attitude, like we tried that a long time ago. And I try to also add to the equation that, timing also is a part of the equation. Maybe it wasn't the perfect time, a year ago when it was tried, maybe today, but you can't have a defeatist attitude and decide just right out the gate not to attempt something, because you're owning up.
No, I don't. What is a defeatist attitude?
As far as not supporting anything, and because it was actually tried maybe 10 years ago, that it's not worth trying today. I think we all, what's our choice? To just lay down and die and just allow ourselves to be attacked without a fight? I'm just saying that we're here trying to ask for outside support when we don't support each other from the inside. And
I think that at least to just take part in something. I don't know if with these podcast shows that our phone numbers show up and we can use those as a pool to reach out to people that perhaps need a little convincing to take part in something. Because, you know, we all need to, you know, attempt something, no matter if it's just putting your name to a petition, something. And just not decide that it's not worth it.
What that is, what you're talking about is holding the perpetrators accountable for their actions.
Yes, you know, just exactly right. You know, because if not, all of this can be in vain if we don't at least each person, no matter how big or small the step is, even if it's putting your name towards a petition that's needed, just to not decide that it's not going to work is the defeated attitude I'm talking about. We're looking for support from the outside.
Stewart, I wanted to say very quickly that I got cut off for a while. So Rochelle, if you could shoot me an email and tell me what you've been up to, and I'd like to start collecting this type of thing and talking about it on the Techno Crime Fighters.
Yes, okay, will do, definitely. I've been getting. I'm not a Facebook person. There's a lot about all of that I don't know, and but I get a lot of your information still. I see that you've been busy, because you know I was keeping in touch with you quite a bit, and then all of a sudden I had a few battles, you know, at my doorstep and then a mom that got ill, so I've been kind of like not you know, reaching out as much as possible, but I'm still in the fight, and like I said, I got some pretty good feedback as of last week from one organization in particular, and I'm continuing. And they, you know, right now they sent me a request form after they got all of my videos, quite a few of them, I should say, not all of them, but saying how much they were interested in assisting, and then they said at this. Karen?
Hello?
Hi.
I think she got cut off.
Did we lose Rochelle?
Crazy muted.
Yes. Sounds like it. Wow.
Crazy muted.
Oh, we don't lose anybody off this particular venue either.
Frank?
Yep.
Hi, Lauren in Indiana. I missed the part. I missed the part when Karen was talking about let me get this right, they sell our identities over and over and over, and then they want to dispose of us. Who do they sell the identities to?
Okay, say you're a terrible criminal and you've served 20 years or 25 years in prison, and you want a new clean ID. A clean ID can be worth anywhere from $5,000 to $1 million, depending upon how clean it is and how good it is.
Because $1 million credentials and everything, professional credentials.
Exactly. So he can walk down the street a brand new man, except for those fingerprints.
That's true. That's true. You know, that kind of runs into my theories about the illegal alien mafia, because they do use imposters, because we've had experiences. Was that a doctor? Was that a cop? Because they can say something weird, and more than likely it's a stolen, bought identity, and they can have them.
They are exporting some illegal aliens for identity theft.
Oh, yes. You know what?
Yes, and you better believe that they're using illegal aliens as well as immigrants to do the perping as well. And what do you think they're promising them?
To kill you and they'll step into your life. It's more sinister than that. It's not just it's literally your identity, because they're going to step into your life. So by the time you really turn 65 or 66, an illegal alien will be claiming your Social Security.
Oh, okay. You think they're illegal, not illegal aliens, but real aliens doing it to us?
No, they're no illegal aliens. All of my just being gang stalked with my sister, I have felt the pronounced criminal mafia element. It always felt criminal. Always.
Oh yeah, there's an element that's absolutely the lowest of the low.
Mm-hmm. And they tend to gravitate
Yeah, I'm African American, but it tends to gravitate more in your urban areas, sanctuary cities. And basically what would that have? High numbers of what's going on. You know what I mean? I think that's how they harness us in the city.
Ladies,
well,
can I jump in and ask a question?
Okay.
You know, I'm new to this podcast stuff, and at the beginning we talked about, like, you know, the directed energy weapons and how, like, you know, the government is involved in that, the Army, and how can all that be operating when you've got a criminal element operating and an illegal, you know, mafia operating? I mean, how do they all come together, and are they, you know, all connected?
It's real easy.
Well,
if you have,
have you ever heard of General Milley?
If you have the mafia, the government, the Army, the Navy, they all have guns. It's as easy as that.
Exactly.
Just compare, I compare this to an unlicensed weapon. That's what I compare these weapons to, an unlicensed firearm. So if you look at it that way, they're everywhere.
Okay.
Look at General Milley, M-I-L-L-E-Y, Army General Milley.
I've heard
He
that.
actually was recorded as warning people about a hybrid army, which he really did not elaborate on. But look at the fact you've got the Department of Homeland Security, and they basically, you know, give instructions to the fusion centers in every state, and sometimes there's one fusion center, sometimes there's 2 or 3, depending on the size of the state. The fusion centers not only give instructions to police and other authorities at the local level, but they also run something called InfraGard. Now, under George Bush, he sent FBI to almost every state to create a civilian vigilante force called InfraGard to protect the homeland. Well, these are the first people they go to stalk and harass supposed national security threats like you and me. These people are lied to. They're told that we're terrorists or that we're pedophiles or something of a horrific nature, and they're the ones who stalk us 24/7 because they think they're surveilling us and keeping an eye on us. Okay? Meanwhile, the police go down into their criminal contacts and they offer criminals money or paroles or, you know, lenient sentences if they use directed energy weapons on us. So you've got the quasi or fake patriot element, and then you've got the criminal element that is also basically, you know, the police go out and get them to work for them and for the fusion centers. So the fusion centers are running our assaults, is what it looks like. And they are using not only your neighbors, but they're using absolute psychopathic criminals as well. So there is a matrix of people involved because the fusion centers also send people out to the churches and say that you're a Satanist. And they send them out to the let's say, Parent-Teacher Association and tell them that you're a pedophile. And so they tailor their lies to all kinds of groups, and then they switch these groups around because you may get stalked by a certain church, let's say in August, and then they've worked their way through everybody in that church, and in September they'll go to a certain elementary school Parent-Teachers Association and work their way through all the parents there who think you're a pedophile. And then they go to different groups and rotate them so you never or almost never see the same person twice, but in so doing they also slander you to almost every single person in the town you live in.
Okay, well that's a lot. Would you give Frank some advice tonight, because he's been the best moderator tonight, so.
I don't think I can give him advice. I think I can give him praise.
Well, thank you so much.
So what you're basically saying is, those are the reasons that people begin to isolate.
Yes, they tailor lies to various groups. And unfortunately, the people in DHS, maybe upper, police captains or sheriffs or people higher up, know the whole thing is a scam and they're in on it. So they get they get basically properties or payoffs when you die. So the upper echelon know it's a scam.
And then to take down the American culture, you have the illegals coming in, stealing your identity. It's killing us too, by the way.
Right. I mean, while you're alive, they're selling your identity and buying properties and getting insurance and trust funds.
Yes.
And then once they figure out you're not worth anything more to them, then they find a way to knock you off. And then maybe after that, yes, they do sell your identity. You know, hey, Jim Smith died at 42, but let's find an illegal alien and either get
around
his
that age
for this identity or sell it to him. You know.
And they have
they find a way to make money off of this right and left.
Oh, yeah. They have doctors that help them. See, even when you go to the ER or to a doctor, you're only partially treated. They'll make sure to cut your medication and stuff down to hopefully kill you faster.
Yes, they'll tell the doctor, this is Department of Homeland Security business. We need you not to treat this person, or we need to seek for you to secretly implant them because we need to keep an eye on them. You know, some doctors know, some of them don't. You know, some of them are thoroughly bribed and in with it. Other people are just intimidated, and you can, of course, tell by their reaction to you.
Exactly.
They're intimidated or bribed.
Intimidated or bribed. It's very obvious, actually. Very obvious. And what's the reason for...
What's the point?
What's the point of what?
What's the reason for what? I didn't catch it.
I guess a person have a clean record, you're worth something, even if it's, like Frank mentioned, $5,000 for your identity, all the way up to $1 million. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I would think that's a possibility. Like if you have a clean record, or let's say you're a doctor from Pakistan, and you've done some things in Pakistan where you need to get out of the country, and you need to be able to practice medicine here, but you haven't graduated from an American medical college, and you really don't want people to know your name. So maybe you come here and they make a deal with you, like, okay, we're going to kill off this guy. You take over his practice, or you take over his, his name and his, reputation, and we'll put you in another city, and you can open up there as, whoever. So that's possible. I don't have any proof of that, but like I said, they are making money off of us right and left. Anything that can be done. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went in and said, oh, we want this body for medical experimentation,
Is this Karen still speaking?
Yes, this is Karen Stewart.
Okay. What would be the purpose of giving a TI a completely new identity with a completely new Social Security number?
Well, it's not
no, I didn't say that.
That goes
like an immigrant. Once we have made them all kinds of money, another way potentially to make money off of us is to sell our identity to an immigrant who may have big money to pay for an American identity.
So does that mean
potential?
So the corruption goes up, even though the American is pronounced dead. They've assassinated you. Your identity continues because there is corruption all the way. The person let's put it this way, you could be dead, but the records of your identity won't stay dead. You understand what I'm saying? The corruption goes just that high. They have people everywhere. It's a mafia.
Okay.
No, but
they do.
Lauren,
they've infiltrated almost everything you can think of.
Everything you can think.
Lauren, how are we going to stop all this so that we can live our lives normally?
Like we talk about on our show, good people have enemies, bad people even have more enemies. You have to keep reaching out to the enemy. Be fortunate. People that don't like this, alternative media.
Well, we keep making noise.
Yes, Trump has the voice that's for victims of, immigration, crimes, engagement. 855-48 I've called. I don't know if they were kosher, Homeland Security, but even when he came here, I made sure to spread that out to our organization just to make sure we're looking at you. Because remember, they'll send imposters in a minute.
Yes.
You know what, I was
Oh,
just
hot
thinking the
contested.
other-
Hot contested.
Yeah. We keep pushing through and keep reaching out to their enemies. I'm not saying this new administration is a win-all, but it is different. He is coming in too.
Well, I tell people anytime you have a change of administration, you have a chance.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He's coming in very, very different. I mean, some things may be a loss, some things may be a win, but at least he's, rolling the dice, in my opinion, he's going for it, instead of just, some puppets saying the same old thing that's heard for the last 30 years.
Right. Well,
I was
okay.
Let's
say Hillary had won. She would come in, and everybody at the State Department, everybody at the Pentagon, and all those people would have pretty much stayed in place. Now Trump comes in, and there seems to be problems at the State Department or the Department of Justice. I mean, at the Department of Justice, I believe he asked for a lot of people to resign who had top positions because he suspected they would not carry through with his orders as president. So he asked them either to resign or he would fire them. So that's a clean sweep. And what happens with a clean sweep is that you may get somebody in there who is not used to saying, no, I'm not going to even listen to these people. You may get somebody in there who's new and says, what the heck are these people talking about? We got to investigate this and see what's going on.
Yeah, Trish Hives.
I think he was outdone with the voter fraud risk, that's true, because that was a lot of deceased Americans that someone was voting on their behalf. Yeah.
Well, there has been a lot of voter fraud in the past several years, indeed. Illegal aliens voting, dead people voting, et cetera, et cetera. So there's been a lot more fraud than people let on.
Much more. We on the polls, there's thousands of people that if they had really been alive, they would be over 112 years old. They've been getting Social Security disability. 112 years old, you would be alive? That many people?
There was
and
alien.
they've had incidences where people file for tax refunds who aren't citizens and haven't particularly worked that long here, and they get tens of thousands of dollars in refunds, tax refunds that they never paid in.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of fraud going on.
Oh, Matt, I think they come over here mainly for fraud. If they're a part of the mafia, that's what it is, the mob. But then that's what it is. The name of the game is money. They don't even see us as people. We're things, commodities. Money.
Tell the dog, don't treat that person because they want you to die.
No, and I will tell you one aspect to the deep state which really does not like black or white America, and they don't like us because we were born into a free country. We know what this country is supposed to be, and the black population in the 1960s said, we know what it's supposed to be, and by golly, we're not getting it, so we demand it. So you guys have fought for your freedom even more recently than white America. So what they don't like about white and black America is that we know our rights, we know what we were born to, and they don't want us here. They want to replace us with these malleable immigrants, whether legal or illegal, because they're not used to democracy. They're used to being basically doing what they're told and not questioning anything. So these people who want a totalitarian state don't particularly like black or white America. They want to replace us, and they want to replace us with people who don't know any better.
And I'm not here to insult all of you that have said on my calls, oh, illegal immigrants. Look, some of them that want to come in and assimilate, that's grand. That's really grand. But don't be naive. Coming from those countries, a lot of them do not like black and white Americans. They don't.
And they come from places that are full of
They don't want to be what you are.
No, they don't. In fact, they resent us. They loathe us.
Yes.
They loathe us. They do.
A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, a significant number are here to take what you have. They do not want to assimilate.
Not at all. And when they're like confident in the mafia, they're very nasty in medical places like hospitals and things and professional. That's when they let it all out because you're a TI anyway. I can see their contempt for America and Americans.
Well,
you know,
I did read a while back about a hospital that was taken over by a certain group, a hospital in a community, and once that group took over, they told people in the community, you are not like us, you're not welcome at this hospital, so you need to drive 20 or 30 miles away because we won't treat you.
Affirmative. That's on my call now that I'm working with. It is. It's one of the, and they want to kill you fast. So you could be chronically ill. They'll give you just enough to keep you barely alive, but they want you to keep getting sicker and sicker.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of these places, a lot of these countries are small. I'm sorry. Or they're used to corruption. You know, because they come from smaller places, and so they see it as business as usual. And I think that's why they don't have a problem in assaulting U.S. citizens or Americans. And here in Florida, I don't know about any other state. That's basically all that's in the hospitals now. The assistants, I don't know, RNs and whoever else is basically. Most are foreign or from another country, and so it's at least in a couple of hospitals near, and I'm in Fort Lauderdale right now, and the hospitals that I've been in lately in reference to my mom, they're nothing but. So I don't know. I believe it.
If you doubt me, well, I'm telling you, and everyone on this line, they kill our jobs and careers. If you net $1,000 or less per month, there's 12 months in a year. If you only net $12,000, you are eligible for a lot, and I mean a lot, of government programs. But minimum, fill out for food stamps, fill out for Section 8, fill out for Medicare or Medicaid, and you want your rejection, because you will be rejected, in writing. The minute you get your rejection, your identity's been stolen because an illegal immigrant is using your benefits. If you doubt me, fill them out. I filled mine out and I was rejected.
Well, I don't understand how people that are just, people that are just getting here are eligible for programs.
Yeah, and they're really legally not, especially Social Security disability. They're getting that too. It was all on my call series. You guys check it out. He was breaking it down. When you get to know them over coffee, where we got this person's identity, I can get your disability. I can get you into that job. I got a teacher's credential. You can get on up into that school. That's how they talk about it. But there's things you still have to do, and that means anything. You have to, when you get into that job or position, like a receptionist at a medical office, you're going to have to steal some of the patient Social Security numbers and ID. There's a lot of fraud in doctor offices, dental offices. Wherever there's information, information leads to assets. Assets lead to money.
Yeah, and that's basically all that's here in at least the Fort Lauderdale area. I'm in South Florida. That the medical field is just bombarded with people from other countries. It's everywhere. I mean, it's so, and I haven't been here this length of time in years, and just to see it now is just eye-opening. I'm just,
I was shocked out of Los Angeles, and it was the same as Florida. I can tell you without certainty, the entire state of California, illegal mafia owned. Entire state of Florida, illegal mafia owned. Entire state of New York, illegal mafia owned. Chicago, illegal mafia owned.
Well, let me ask guys about what the Founding Fathers said. The Founding Fathers basically warned people as to be careful of where our immigrants came from and how many we allowed in at the same time, because an influx of foreign ideas could kill America, essentially. If you have so very many people who flood the United States that they cannot assimilate and take on American values and American principles, then you will have killed the United States with foreign ideas that are contrary to democracy and the importance of the individual. And that's what we've done.
Yeah, we're trying Sharia law everywhere.
No desire.
It is Sharia law everywhere. And Karen, did not Hillary have on a hijab, that rag on her head? Wasn't she wearing that?
Job?
Hijab, the scarf they wear. Didn't Hillary Clinton have one over there? Yeah. See what I'm saying?
Well, I would say there are certain politicians who have been more than happy to sell us down the river. You can make up your minds as to who they are and who they aren't, but we've been betrayed right and left for a very long time.
Affirmative.
That's right.
Yes, and when you drop...
We can't even get help. We can't even get help. Look at this.
You can't. Do you think you want to believe a cop because he has a badge? Most of them have stolen identities, or they are illegal alien mafia members. They are basically paid assassins.
Yeah. This is so unbelievable that we can't.
I'm telling you,
go to any
check out my talk show sometime, Karen. I'd love to have you on the show. I really would. Thank you too. Come to my show about the elite. We're already going on part 16 now. I have this wonderful woman, Professor Martinez. She's helping me break it down, and it's making all the sense. Los Angeles and our departure makes sense. I will.
Yeah, send me the information.
Oh, I just wanted to...
down of all time. This is the shakedown. They're shaking us all down, using us. I mean, they're using us from the blood to the marrow.
It's called asset stripping. It's called asset stripping. And I will tell you that they have printed so much money over the past few decades that the dollar is now worth probably, I don't know, 3 to 5% of its original worth. Okay? And we have printed so very much money that the dollar, had it not been the currency used to buy oil, that we would have collapsed. We would have gone into a depression.
Illinois
just like
is broke.
Germany.
I think
aren't
we getting? Wow. Aren't we collapsing now? So, Illinois is broke.
Well, we are heading that way again. The only reason we haven't collapsed years before this is because the dollar has been propped up, because it's been used as the petrodollar. Now, nations like China and India, Iran, they are collecting gold like you wouldn't believe. And in fact, the Chinese government actually issued an edict a few years ago, maybe months ago, but not that long ago, instructing each and every one of its citizens to use, and I don't remember how much they said, let's say they instructed every one of their citizens to go out and buy 10% of their salaries, use it for gold, and to put gold in their house and store it or put it in a bank or something. But they told their citizens buy gold. India has been buying gold like crazy. China's been buying gold like crazy. Russia has been, and they've got their own mines, but they've been storing gold like crazy. So there are certain countries who are going to a gold standard that we are not on, because they expect the dollar to collapse. Now, is it going to collapse under Trump? I don't know, because he can be pretty wily as far as like economics, but we certainly would be heading that way under a different administration, and we would have woken up one day and had our bank accounts worth nothing. And I'll tell you that there are certain countries that have done this, like Brazil, Russia, Germany, et cetera, and when the banks collapse, the governments go in and they take everything out of your safety deposit boxes, your gold rings, your stocks, your bonds, anything, everything, they take it. But this is yet another way for people in the know to asset strip the population of a country. You and I don't have $1 million to steal, but if they insure us and kill us, then we do. So the higher-ups have found a way to asset strip the population by doing this.
Wow.
I mean, there's a multiplicity of reasons why they are doing this, even though they're all evil. But this is yet another reason. They're lining their pockets with money, and I imagine a lot of them are using the money for properties, because properties do not tank. If you have a farm, then it's still worth a lot. Whether the dollar you have is worth anything, but the fact that you own a building, or you own a farm, or you own a house, you own something, and you can sell it into whatever new currency there is, and you haven't lost a lot. As where the $100,000 in your bank account may be worth now $1,000.
Full of life.
Wow, now they are taking us back to Germany, yeah. Wow.
Yep. Well, Weimar Germany, the German mark got so bad that they would get paid and then take the money in a wheelbarrow to the grocery store or to the market, because they didn't really have grocery stores. They had individual markets. They would buy all the food they could with that paycheck for that month, because they knew the next day they'd need 2 wheelbarrows full of money.
Exactly. So there. Yeah. They say all roads lead to either money, sex, or power. One of those three. That's it. And you'll get to the end of whatever anybody's out to get. You know, especially hello?
Hello? Yes?
Yes.
Money, power, and sex. Are those, you know, everything leads to one of those three things when you're dealing in corruption.
Well, they're turning our country into a rape culture. Look at these immigrants. But these immigrants are coming over here, and we're having a rape culture now. They're having a rape culture.
Yep. I agree, Kate. Lauren, Kate.
Oh, hey, Marcus. I'm telling you, and that's what scares me. When these activated cells go off, we are going to not know what's going to hit.
There's only one word. It's unbelievable.
No, we've been opened up for invasion, unfortunately, by our fools of leaders.
How could they be that
This is what it is. Money and political correctness, wanting to be popular. I mean, a politician is not going to tell you the truth if he thinks it's going to cost him votes.
Yep.
Karen, just to get back.
Yes.
What are their votes? What are their votes worth when you're selling out your people?
I know.
Your country.
I know it.
It's just
they get to people and they brainwash and placate. The main word actually is placate. They placate people into their bullshit. But it's
Frank, did you have a question for me?
Made that way.
Yes. I was just going to add to something that you had said earlier. You had mentioned all the illegal aliens and the tens of thousands of illegal aliens or barely filtered aliens, we'll say. All it takes is one Osama bin Laden in that lot.
Yes.
Just
well, another thing that you have to think
of,
too, is that the illegal aliens coming over here are from countries where they don't have the medications that we have, they don't have the shots that we have, and they also do carry diseases we've never heard of before, don't know how to treat. In fact, leprosy is making a comeback. There are cases of leprosy occurring across the nation, and we've not had leprosy in this country for decades.
Yeah, what is leprosy?
Polio.
What?
Yeah, they're bringing over all kind of, nasty man, nasty woman diseases.
And guess where they like to work? The restaurants, the fast food.
In food industry, don't they? That's why we have fecal in our food. They don't wipe their butts, man. They don't use toilet paper.
Yeah.
And who's that loud? Did you hear about 2 years ago?
Apathy. You're talking about apathy, right? Not leprosy?
Leprosy is a disease, leprosy.
Leprosy. Yeah, we had that.
Plague.
Yeah.
The Dark Ages is coming back.
And
I think they bioengineered it.
Too. Cholera is coming back here, too. We haven't had that in, I'm seriously, 100 years? Cholera?
Yeah, I remember getting the cholera.
That didn't disappear from the world. It only disappeared from the United States. If you let people come here unfiltered from everywhere in the world, you will bring every disease to the United States. And there are doctors who have not the vaguest idea what these diseases are. And they won't be able to treat them because they don't know what they are. You will need to find, and I know somebody who had to find a doctor who specialized in foreign diseases to get diagnosed. And she had worms in her blood.
From what?
And what diseases? And what diseases is this that all these foreigners bring here? Can you give me a list of it so that way I can research it, find out exactly? Because most of these diseases have been around the old country. I mean, come on, you got to do your research. The way you're making it sounds like you're being prejudiced or something, which you're not. I know that you're trying to like go, hey, you know, there's certain things that is going on. But you have to sit there and go, okay, if there are all these diseases, let me get a list of it. You got to research it. How are you going to research something? How are you going to investigate something? You got to use the who, what, when, where, and why. And you just can't get one opinion. You have to get other opinions.
But that's why we're getting botched. But I think that's why we're getting sick at restaurants and foods, man. They work around that and fecal matter. That's why we get botulism and E. coli and stuff. Yeah. It's nasty. Okay, we can't eat anymore. We can't eat anymore.
You're right about some things, okay? But you can't sit there and say it's just the foreigners. How about us? We have a lot. I'm American. I was born and raised here. I'm 50 years old.
We don't have leprosy.
There's a lot of different. We're in like the first and second world. We're one of the countries that are always creating things, and we're finding new ways to advance. Right? Yes or no?
The reality is there are diseases that are being brought back into the country by people who are coming here illegally. Period. I mean, that's the reality.
You know,
are they responsible for the disease? Of course not. But they are responsible, by and large, for a reoccurrence of diseases that had been wiped out in North America for decades.
Most of the diseases came from Europe, your old country.
But would you agree that they're creating new diseases to suit the pharmaceutical industry to make money? Like
Thank you. That's a better way of approaching it, what you just said. It is. It's all these chemical companies, pharmaceutical countries that are going around finding out other ways to try to stop diseases, or accidentally, while they're researching, they discover things that causes problems to a person's body, and yes, they're developing some kind of disease. And yes, there's probably there's dirty type of guys that are scientists that are working these chemist labs, taking them, and they're pretty much giving them to other people. Like you said, when you go and eat, they're probably in their food. They're probably doing this. They're probably doing that. And almost every single one of us TIs have gone out and experienced it in our own ways of some type of thing that has gotten you sick.
Yep.
You know? You can't just say that it's a certain race that's coming here or that other race.
Excuse me, sir.
No,
just
you
for a
can
second.
look at,
what I'd like to add is this. Other countries, some of which have no medical profile. They don't have shots. They don't have doctors. They barely go to any kind of medical establishment. So they don't have any of the immunizations that we have. So they come to our country and they bring, as Karen mentioned, the plague with them. And it's not their fault. It's their country's fault because they're just not evolved in the medical profession. Right?
Thank you, man. You just worded it in a better way, because the other way it kind of sounds...
That's one way of looking at it, yeah. But the other thing is that our country is bringing diseases to those and producing diseases to wipe out certain, eradicate certain
there are certain countries where there are certain diseases. If you have an influx, let's say you have Somalia has certain unique diseases, and you bring in a bunch of Somalians and bring them into Indiana, and then 3 years later there are people, let's say, you know, they live next to the Chinese community, the prominent Chinese community. Then you've got all these Chinese American people coming down with a disease that is known to be rampant in Somalia and not to exist in the United States. That's pretty clear. What they're looking at are statistics where diseases are showing up in areas of the United States where they've never been before, and they're diseases that can be logically linked to certain immigrants in that who are recently settled into that area. So that's pretty clear. That is 1 + 1 = 2. And to say, oh, that, you know, bringing that up is racist or somehow, you know, oh, you know, you're insulting the Somalis. No, it's a fact. You know, if you come in and you're not, and you do not have the proper shots and you're not examined, for the diseases that are known to exist in your country, if you come in the back door and you bring these diseases to people around you, the people around you don't have any natural protection. They've never encountered anything like that. So yes, they are going to get sick. I mean, it's just like the American Indians got sick from diseases that the Europeans brought over, because the Europeans were so used to these diseases because they originated in Europe, and they would get mildly sick but not die. But the American Indians would get these germs and they would die. They would wipe out entire tribes with something we thought was maybe like the seriousness of a cold or maybe a flu, but it would wipe out entire tribes because they had no contact with that disease ever before they got the contact with the Europeans.
Karen, you've got the comm. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, if you think about it, the Europeans basically carried a lot of diseases over here. What was their lives were different in Europe because they actually had farm animals that lived at the bottom of their houses. They lived atop barns, more or less. They would have a cow or two. They might have a horse. They might have 3 or 4 pigs. And then they would build their home above what was essentially a barn-type area. Well, these Europeans lived tracking that back in and out of their house, and they weren't good houses. They were huts. So they basically shared the same diseases and got very used to the diseases that these cows, pigs, chickens had. Well, they came over to North America, and American Indians did not live that way. If they had any type of, pets or dogs or something like that, they were outside. In fact, they basically were hunters, so they weren't agrarian at all, so they did not keep, cows, pigs, chickens, buffaloes, so they were totally they had a totally different lifestyle where they did not live in and among animals the way that Europeans did. And so that is the main cause as to why some of our mild diseases actually wiped out a huge number of American Indians by accident.
Yeah.
On that topic,
so I'm saying the same thing. You get people from South America, Asia, Africa, who basically have these diseases. They live in and around the disease source for things that affect them mildly, but then they come over here and they're not examined, and they carry a strain of this or that, and then they get in touch with, Americans who've lived here our entire lives, and we've seen nothing like this disease. We've never been anywhere near something like this. So when we contract it, we have no antibodies whatsoever for it, and it may kill us. And it may give them only a mild headache or a mild fever or the flu-like symptoms or something that they work through because they're used to it, but we're not.
You're right about what you
bird flu that came from Asia, the swine flu and the bird flu seems to be rampant with both humans and animals as a carrier both ways with our, especially knowing that we have pets. That's what they're using as a carrier to have that transmitted to us.
Usually by
so most of the time, a disease that an animal has will not cross the barrier into a human and vice versa. But yes, there are diseases that will make that transition.
Well, West Nile and Ebola, I think, are some, they're seem to be more and more resistant to temperatures and climate change. They're spreading, like you said, in places like the West that hadn't seen that before.
We had a scare with the bird flu, too. They thought in China that the bird flu had actually gone from bird to human.
Yeah, Asia is my biggest fear, where a lot of that comes from.
Well, in Asia, don't you have kind of a similar situation that you had in Middle Ages Europe, where the people are living really quite close to the cows, chickens, ducks, whatever it is, and eventually some disease may cross from bird to human. You may have 1,000 diseases that the chickens or ducks get that the humans will not get. but you may run into that one disease that goes into the human, and then you've got an epidemic.
Yeah, I bought like a rotisserie chicken at like Stater Brothers, and I got sick, my dog got sick, and I didn't realize that the two were related.
I don't know, because we got, years ago in my family, we did get a similar type of chicken, a pre-cooked chicken, and we were actually busy in the kitchen putting away groceries and kind of snacking on the chicken that we had on the counter ready to, you know, it was a pre-cooked, so we were going to have it for dinner, and everybody kept checking their shoes saying, did somebody step in something? Did you step in dog dew maybe? And we realized that the smell was coming from the interior of that chicken.
Great.
Sure.
And so what had happened was the grocery store that had it on display basically did not keep it at the proper temperature, and it had started to spoil from the inside out, as where the chicken on the outside tasted perfectly fine, but the interior was already rotting and full of bacteria. So we all went to throw it up. You know, basically we hadn't eaten all that much of it, but that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Nasty stuff.
So I wouldn't say that was bird flu. That just was bad handling of the food. Right.
Yeah, spoiled.
Exactly.
Well, you can kind of tell when you pick up a package like that, if there's a lot of blood coming out of it and it's on the side of the package, it usually means it's spoiled. It's been sitting out in the wrong temperature. You know?
But
okay, that's a good hint. I did not know that.
Corporations like Monsanto is doing all this bioengineering with our food. Don't you kind of wonder if maybe that could be something that might be on its own merit? That might.
Well, that's kind of scary. That is kind of scary. You know, I will tell you something that very much concerned me that came out in the news a couple of years ago. It said that the United States had reached an agreement with China where we would send across the Pacific, we would send them chickens from our farms for the Chinese to process, put into packages, and send all the way back across the Pacific. And I said, you know, that doesn't make any sense at all. And then it occurred to me that China, their soil and really China is highly, highly, highly polluted. And anything that they raise, you know, food-wise, has got to contain heavy metals and all kinds of pollution. And I said, what if they are not processing the American chickens and sending them back? What if they are taking the American chickens, which are a lot less polluted, I'm not going to say not polluted, but a lot less polluted and a lot more healthy than Chinese chickens? What if they take them and keep them and sell them to their own people, and they take their polluted chickens, chop them up, and send them back for Americans to eat?
Good point. I think that's what's happening with jobs. I've heard that they're employing, saying that, you know, they're getting all these jobs, but they're exporting all these Chinese people over here for cheap labor to work in those factories to have those jobs.
Yeah, we're just not being told the truth. We just aren't.
Yeah, economically.
A lot of industries do a lot of corrupted stuff. Like my girlfriend, she's an FDA agent. She used to do chemist. And she said that a lot of companies, that vitamin companies, what they do is they used to cut their product with certain type of chemicals and make everybody think that you're getting the proper type of item when you buy your vitamins off the shelves. And she has caught a few of them, but it was a big business in the industry, and it saved them a lot of money. So there is a lot of different type of scenarios to what you're to almost every little thing that happens. I mean, anything that is going on, especially with the manufacturer, distributor, and the retailers. You know.
Yeah, we can't trust the FDA.
I was just thinking about this disease thing. You know, let's go back to the perpetrators and the NSA and FBI, right? They're doing all these they're using all these electronic equipment, causing all these problems. And you guys talked about this electric dust, nano dust, and all these different type of other maybe chemicals that they're using. And some of you have proof of what they've done to your apartment, your houses, or your cars or whatever, that they may have sprayed something or put some kind of a chemical in there that has gotten you sick, and it showed up on your skin, or just some kind of flu, I don't know. Now, what if they do get access to this, right, and they take this chemicals and go to a third or fourth world country and basically spread it over there because they want to make it look like it's coming from somebody else instead of over here. I'm not saying what you said about China. No, the big cities in China is disgusting in a lot of things that they do over there because it's just so many people that they live over there. I'm just saying, hey, it's a scenario. Could they do this because the perpetrators and the NSA and FBI, they have a lot of money. You know, I don't know if they got refunded to keep going on with this program. But if they did, I mean, hey, they're doing whatever it's going to take to cover their ass, right? And they're doing a pretty good job of it. You've all spoke about, you know, some of us have gone to the doctors, and it just surprised you on how they reacted towards you with the type of complaint. And then when you found out later that, hey, you know what, this is not a natural cause of this headache or this problem that I have that's mentally a mental issue that I have. But then you look up online, or you hear somebody talk about electronic harassment, or you look up something about a headache and it leads you to electronic harassment, and you read it, and then you go, wow, you know what, there's like 30 or 40 different things on here, and about 8 of them matches my symptoms that I've experienced. You know, I mean, they're coming up with so many different ways to cover their ass. Like over here where I get, they always trying to manipulate me to think it's a spirit. The magnetic electricity is a spirit. The one that I can't feel, but I can feel like it's speaking to me, like it's supposedly a god. And then the one that bothers, the microwave airwaves and the radiation, the one that bothers and hurts and is very harmful, they try to manipulate me to think that it's an evil spirit. And it's like, you know, dude, I don't know what the perpetrators are. I mean, it's just, I just lost my train of thought. But anyways, I'm pretty sure you got the point. There's a lot of different other things that we read that are online, and thank God for all these whistleblowers and what they've explained. But you got to take your experience and go, hey, what if now that they came out with these new technologies and they're using everything that we know as a cover-up? You know, I mean, who knows? It might be the NSA and the FBI. They might have stole the blueprints and go, hey, we're going to sit back, we're going to build all these machines, we're going to store it in our house and wait for all the NSA and FBI's and all them to get busted. And once they do, now we know all the experiments that they've done for the past 20 years and what works and what doesn't work. We're going to do it this way to manipulate people's minds to make money, and we're not going to cause any harm, because when you cause harm, people come to realize, look at all of us. We didn't know that some of us, we didn't know that it was electric airwaves. Some of us did. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing some ideas out there, because if you can't come up with it, they have done so much already. Well, there's nothing new that you're going to come up with, you know? I mean, we're not giving them any new ideas. And if you can, like the lady spoke earlier, hey, you know what? Thank God that we're all on this phone and we're all giving our own experience of what we've gone through. And it's weird, like with the V2K or the V2S, every single one of us has experienced that in our own way. And if you think about it, why would they want to change this technique, or why is it always kind of different for everybody? It's because they're experimenting on us. You know, they want to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Well, they're different stages. They're in different stages too. There are
you're right.
4 distinct stages. Karen.
Oh, yeah, a very smart,
Karen,
very smart person.
I was just going to ask Karen if she's still here. What stage she's in?
Yeah, I'm here.
What stage do you think you're in targeting?
Oh, me? See, I think that I think basically I'm slow kill, but they're not happy with how slow it's taking. I basically, like I said, I got targeted for stalking and harassment by going to the IG, but I got targeted with the directed energy weapons for actually telling Bill Black Jr., who was the retired deputy director of NSA during 9/11. I actually got targeted after telling him I knew that NSA had spat on certain reports and refused to warn people about 9/11. So that puts him in danger. That puts General Michael Hayden, director of NSA during 9/11, and Deputy Black in danger of going to prison and being executed for mass murder. So that's why they hit me with directed energy weapons. And they're not doing a whole lot other than that. You know, I don't really get street theater at this point. They're just concentrating on trying to kill me.
Okay,
so I'm not in the same program as somebody who has chips, and they're trying to see if they can reproduce multiple sclerosis or some other type of anomaly.
I think you're in, you're going to be in good shape because you're high profile. And that's one thing that's good. We all have our heads on the chopping block. As long as you're on the chopping block, they can't do anything.
You know,
well, maybe we can all make enough noise that we're all high profile.
That's what we need.
I'm not sure that's going to stop them because they would love to give me cancer. I mean, the one thing that NSA always says is that they rely on plausible deniability.
Yeah,
that is their excuse.
They can lie. Yeah, that's the number one thing I didn't know for a long time.
I agree.
Plausible
deniability.
It's plausible.
Lie. Straight out lie.
That's NSA's mantra.
Yep. Just like they tried to do when they were asking them. They were on the stand.
I'll tell you what I think happened in 9/11. I think that they dispatched probably a couple of Hornets to the area, and they fired 2 missiles. One hit the Pentagon and missed the target entirely, and the other one made that hole, that mysterious hole in the ground, because there were no airplane parts anywhere. No airplane parts anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's the fact. I know because I deployed those guys. The LA Fire Department put all their aircraft, all the equipment on the aircraft, the fire trucks, the search and rescue dogs, and they came back and told me that they found detonated bombs inside the building. There was no aircraft parts whatsoever anywhere.
Well, that goes with some of the theories that the Twin Towers were brought down with full-strength directed energy weapons because there was a woman, and I forget her name, but she did a study, and she said that anytime a building falls, you're going to have a mini earthquake, and it's going to be a seismic measurement, that somebody will pick up. And her investigation showed that the Twin Towers should have created, I'm going to pull this out of my hat because I don't remember her numbers, but let's say the 2 Twin Towers collapsing should have created an earthquake that was maybe, 2.3, okay? Not a big one, but measurable. But according to official records, there was only a 1.2 earthquake. Well, that means that the mass of the buildings disappeared and didn't hit the ground. Well, where did this mass of the building go?
Dust.
The only place it could go is into the air as dust, and the only way you can do that is with a directed energy weapon.
Thermite.
Good point. I hadn't thought of that.
World-class dynamite, thermite. They said they found... Okay, caller 224. You better check your headset.
Can I say this? And I know, anybody hear me? It's Rochelle again. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Oh, okay. I know he's not the most popular guy, but I'm just going back to just the speech only because he made the speech only. Does anybody think it's worth a petition to Bill Clinton, since he made this speech in reference to people being used for experimentation? And since he did, some guy passed, and I'm sorry about that, guys. Since he made this speech in reference to people being and apologizing for it, would it be worth, sending a petition to him saying that it never ended? No?
No, I wouldn't say it ended.
The petition would work, but like Terry was explaining earlier, the only way that we can get a petition to push further than what it already has is to get the people in society to become aware of what's going on, and then once they become aware and learn, and then we can go around asking them to sign the petition, and then we could, because if the authorities and us, we don't have more than just a few of us, maybe 1,000, 2,000 of us that are signing the petition, if you only have that, they're just going to look at it and go, well, why is it just kind of 10 here, 20 there, 30 over here, 100 over there? They're going to do the same thing that they've been doing for the past, 10, 15 years? Of everybody from every different state has gone to...
You could certainly refer to Clinton's apology on
That's what I was talking about.
Flyer.
That's what I meant. Because he, I would think that he doesn't need convincing that since he being as the president at the time, the highest position in this country, acknowledged it. So he at least accepted that it was happening as late as what was it, 1994 or what year was it? So so I'm thinking that's half the battle in convincing that it can happen or did happen, and it hasn't stopped.
Well, I think it's very important.
Right.
I mean, if you want to mention that in letters to officials or in a flyer to people so that they can look it up, that proves your point. I'm not sure that Clinton at this point would do anything.
Oh, okay. He won't. Yeah, because I was hoping
I would certainly
that
use his apology as proof that the government has done this type of thing and likely is still doing it.
Yeah.
I was
hoping that since he was, pretty well connected, that perhaps, since he did acknowledge it, that perhaps, still being connected, I'm sure that maybe that could open up some doors by way of him.
Listen, I don't want to discourage anybody from any idea, because you never know where the key breakthrough idea will come through. So if you feel strongly about doing that, I would say try it.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be probably the next on my agenda. I Googled how to start a petition, and I know it takes, I think it was 100,000 to actually to initiate a response from a government agency. But since he's no longer president, I was thinking hopefully just our names, or and even maybe internationally, could get just sending it to him, since he's no longer in a position of government, that it wouldn't take as many to say, look how many people are being affected. Still, and because he acknowledged that it has happened already. So, I just thought maybe that, after what I'm doing now, because that's consuming a lot of my time, that I might, hopefully at least see if that's a possibility and get, something sent to him if possible. But,
sometimes we send things for a paper trail to see who does what or who does not respond. So in that vein, I say send to whoever you feel like sending to, and his apology is indeed an admission that not only did this happen, but it very possibly can still be happening or will happen in the future. And this is an admission that it has happened, so it is very strong.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to run it past you guys to see, hopefully, maybe that could hopefully be a route sooner or later. So hopefully sooner than later, which it will be. But yeah, I'm just starting to just see how to go about it online, because everything has to be online these days, and I'm not that technical person, but I went on change.org, and that seems to, be far-reaching. So I'm just starting to just gather information at this point.
Okay. Yeah, because you will have to formulate what exactly you want him to do.
Yeah. To help open up an investigation, I guess, would be step one, at least.
I wish we had a good inspector general, but I would not send anything to Jeff Sessions, because to me he seems like Charlie Brown the blockhead. I mean, if I brought anything to him, I think he would just stutter and I think he's just filling a space. That's all he is. In the past, I've had actual change happen from contacting the previous inspector generals at the Pentagon.
Well, I wouldn't write him off. He's new, and he is basically beleaguered with people attacking him, just like Trump is, unfortunately. I think both of these men have been stymied by attacks upon them that really have almost never happened before in a history where, people have been so sabotaged and maligned before they even took their first step in office. But I always tell people any type of regime change brings with it the possibility that somebody new will get into a job where they actually want to do it. They actually have morals and integrity, and they want to do their job.
Yeah, not a career politician,
and you may write to Sessions, and he may give it to an assistant who is very serious about doing his or her job.
Majority of action that I got, the majority of things that I did get done as a major whistleblower, that they really twisted my life to that it's not even recognizable anymore. My personality is not even recognizable anymore. But I contacted Dianne Feinstein after I came back, and all the stuff that I witnessed when I was on active duty, and all the suicides that were going on, and just the fraud that I was being forced to commit. Cooking books, and unconscionable. And one guy came back with a flesh-eating disease that was on my crew.
Oh dear God!
So much stuff going on, so much cover-ups, and a lot of people either died and mysteriously, and they're not going to tell the truth as to how they died because they're just collateral damage.
Yeah.
Softball.
My impression is that Feinstein is not the most honest person, but, I don't know. You have to write who you have to write.
Well, the other one is, what's her name? She's new, from California.
Starts with a K, doesn't it? Yeah, starts
San
with a K.
Diego. I can't think
Kamala
of her name
Harris.
now. Yeah, Kamala
There you
Harris.
go.
So that's the next go-to person I'm going to go to, because Barbara Boxer, she just retired, and she's on some big desalinization in South Orange County now, just like they're doing here with the desalinization with the water, because the water is like the new gold. And I know that a lot of this is riding on, like with Korea right now. We could take them out, like our infrastructure. We could take out this infrastructure like we did to Iran, which was NSA, I think, was involved in that, and all levels of intel. They, took down their infrastructure, transportation, everything. And that's what we're afraid of. It can happen to us, too, with hacking.
Oh, that's true.
Korea, now I just found out today that the UK re-signed up to be part of the EU. They weren't before because Tony Blair, during 9/11, was part of the cover-up with Bush, the whole how 9/11 really happened. And it wasn't any ISIS people, it was the Israeli Mossad that actually were on that
Third part is
aircraft.
carefully.
that hit the Pentagon. So they told all the Jewish people not to go near the Twin Towers days before it happened. They all didn't.
I've heard rumors to that, and I'm, that's just really, if that's true, I'm horrified.
Yeah. And I don't think Netanyahu even knew about it. They just took it upon themselves. And then I find out that it was on the news that people that were there at the Pentagon that got injured, they're suing the Saudi government because the Saudi government, of course, I know, is funneling money. Somehow, some way they were involved, indirectly or directly.
Are you in?
I'd say there's a lot we don't know, and it's probably all horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they're running this whole operation. It's two second-party stuff, and they put false information out so somebody else will take the blame for these attacks, and that's how this whole thing self-perpetuates.
Yeah, lots of finger pointing.
We could have far more strength, I think, as a nation, not just within our group, but this disparity the gap is getting worse between the have and the have-nots. I know they're creating that on purpose, but I don't know what we can do to change that. Like you said, buying gold is what we're doing.
Well, if
silver
we take government
I
benefits,
would tell people that silver actually is the better price at this point.
Is it?
Yes.
Silver's always been better. But if we take, if you do take government benefits,
we will try.
Well, yeah, usually from what I've read, there's I'm not sure the unit to call it, but there's usually a difference of like 16 to 1 with gold and silver. If silver goes up a certain percentage, so does gold, and they come down a certain percentage pretty much together. But for some reason, for the past few years, silver has lagged behind and not gone up as much as gold, so that if something would happen, like a currency collapse, then silver would actually gain more worth proportionally than gold. So at this point in time, I have read that you're actually better off to buy silver. It's much more affordable and it has the potential of going up even higher than gold if there is some kind of currency collapse, because it has lagged behind in its price.
Aluminum, copper. Aluminum, copper. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I haven't really looked into aluminum. Copper, of course, has some value, but I'm more familiar with having, basically buying gold, silver, and of course you have to decide if you want to go into platinum or something like that. But you'd have to study that more. And like I said, right now, basically, if you want to put a certain amount of your money into something tangible like gold or silver, silver right now is actually more affordable and has the potential of gaining more worth than gold over the short term.
Gold or silver?
He's been on medication lately. He don't seem like he's really stable.
I mean, a silver coin right now, 1 ounce coin, is less than $20.
Well, we have to just kind of do a little bit of everything, research, and try to figure out a way to sustain ourselves and in the worst possible outcome and figure out how you survive.
I mean, you can buy silver and gold and have it go down, so know that. So if you're going to do anything like this, take a reasonable amount of money and invest it, and know that it could go down, but it could go up. So don't take everything you have and put it in it. Just tell yourself, how much can I afford to play with? How much, if it skyrockets, that's wonderful. Maybe 10% of what I have is enough to put into silver. But if I can't afford 10%, then don't do it,
Yeah, it's not worth it.
But again, this goes back to part of the reason probably that these people are asset stripping us. You know. Mm-hmm. Is anybody there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought I lost everybody.
I know.
I thought I had been cut off.
Is anybody familiar with I guess it's a protest that's supposed to happen maybe tomorrow or the next day in Paris? Anybody get any information?
Jump in there.
Information. I think it was in Paris. It's an international. It was an international TIs, or I think it was in Paris. But I got an email, and I thought it was they made contact. I thought they made contact with you know, most of the moderators and the leaders, which I'm not one of. But anyway, it's I think it was supposed to happen with this week, like the 7th or 6th or 7th of this month. Nobody heard anything about it. Nobody heard anything about it.
I saw something briefly, but I'm not, you know, I don't know what's going on. I'd have to look into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in fact, I can send it to whoever. But yeah, it's and I was wondering, you know, because they were looking for organizations here in America, the names of organizations to go in support of letters to whoever their leadership is in that process to help support, you know, what they were trying to get accomplished there in a way of a protest. Okay. And I think it was supposed to happen either to probably, I don't know, today, tomorrow, within the next couple of days at least. It was scheduled.
Okay. All right. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I can send you a copy of it. What I got.
Okay. All right.
Mine came by way of Ella. It came by way of Ella, and I just got it maybe a day or two ago or something, just as information sent, you know, just to be aware of it.
Oh, the summit. I think she's talking.
The summit, that's what it is. Summit, and they were yeah, that.
Oh, was it the G20?
Yes.
Karen, did you were you working at NSA when Edward Snowden was there?
Not listening
I left in 2010.
2010. So I don't remember what time frame he was there. I went to school.
No,
with
and it seemed to me he was in NSA Hawaii, and I was in NSA Maryland, which is the headquarters.
He was originally in Maryland, and then he went to Hawaii. Yeah, I saw the movie the other day, and so I saw his life story about how everything happened, and when Putin was asked by what's his name? Oliver Stone was doing an interview with Putin, asked him why, you know, if he thought Snowden was doing a bad thing, and he said, well, if he didn't like it, he should have left, but that wasn't the point. He just felt it was his duty to tell the American people the truth, and I felt the same way. When I came back, I felt it was my duty to tell people what I knew. And had I gone in the military when I had the internet, I would have known.
Right. Well, I think I saw a recent quote by Putin who said, Snowden is no traitor.
Yeah, he did say that, and I don't agree with that at all, but of course he would say that.
Yeah, this is Melinda. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mel.
I just wanted to say, okay, the G20 summit is in Berlin. President Trump landed in Poland this evening. It was a very nice landing. And he's heading to Poland before going to Berlin. I don't know if there's supposed to be a protest. There'll be protests at the G20, but with all the other chaos from the immigrants in Berlin. I mean, it could be raucous. It could be amazing. Anyway,
we'll have to see. It's interesting that he landed in Poland first.
Yeah.
Because I think the defense minister or somebody high in government in Poland was looking into the fact that Polish people were complaining about getting hit with directed energy weapons.
That plus they're blocking immigrants, so they would have two things perhaps in common. And yes, Poland was are making some laws maybe about the electromagnetic energy.
Yeah, they're making progress in Poland. They're probably some of the only people who are acknowledging there's a problem, and they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. But tells me that a good portion of the Polish government has no idea this is going on. So if that's true, who's doing it? Would it be their intelligence community? And if so, then that just proves what Catherine Horton is saying, is that the intelligence communities of the Western countries are compromised.
Well, don't forget they're NATO also, so that puts in another little factor. NATO has access to all those countries. But the Prime Minister of Poland is a very, very brave man. He's very unabashed and unafraid. I hope he is protected.
Unabashed. She's unabashed.
Unabashed, yes, that's what I said. Who is that person who keeps interrupting?
Hi, I just wanted to say that this is Frank. I did post a video today of the Prime Minister or the leader of Poland, and it's very interesting. It's definitely worth viewing.
Okay, thank you.
It exhibits his concern for what is going on in his country.
Isn't Poland one of the European countries who said no thank you to the Muslim immigrants? They said, no, we don't want our culture destroyed.
Exactly.
I think Hungary did as well.
Poland? Do you think we should move to Poland?
Ask for political asylum.
That's fair game.
No, I'm really serious. I'm really serious. Would it be PI, friendly?
Well, there's always an expat population of Americans somewhere.
Talk to Brian too. He's lived everywhere, I think.
What's the food like? I don't want to starve. Will they have any chicken wings? What am I going to eat?
No, knock it off.
Slavic food, Polish food, Slavic food. It's slightly different, but still very recognizable.
Lots of fermented vegetables, Polish sausages, fresh vegetables, borscht. I was thinking today as I looked at the plane coming in and everything that Poland might not be a bad place to consider. I have a feeling they might accept you or me or anybody else.
Well, certainly their government is more awake than a lot.
Not for black people.
The what?
Poland's not for black people. Hello, Karen?
Yes.
What do they do to black
people? You work for the NSA?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing. Is there a question for me?
You work for the NSA? Yeah, did you work for the NSA?
Yes, I
did. Did you work on the project? So you saw the machines yourself? Did you see any of these electronic
No, I never worked
machines?
on this type of thing at all. I never knew it existed.
Oh, okay. So what
I tell people, and it's true, I basically was a researcher and a reporter. It's just like being a journalist.
On the other day,
except that I wrote intelligence reports for various people in the government. I might write an intelligence report that people at the Pentagon might see. Then I might write one that somebody at the FCC might need to see. So, various topics. I more or less was a reporter on top secret news. So I had nothing whatsoever to do with the formulation of this technology. which was not in the least in my job description at all, which was to report foreign intercepts of interest to the United States government.
Okay. Well, the reason why I asked is because, you know, some of the guys that are like ex-CIA, NSA, and they explain a lot about this project, like Brian Drew. And when you ask them the question, did you work on this project? They were like, yes, we have been around it, and we were the ones who employed outside contractors to go out and stalk or go out and investigate other people. And it's like, okay, if you did all this, where did you get your orders from, right? So can you give at least identity of that person? And they never wanted, and it's like, dude, what's the big deal? You're already explaining all the problems that they're, I mean, all the different type of abuse that they're doing.
Well, legally, let's say a man named Sam Smith said go out and stalk somebody. Legally, you're not supposed to be able to give Sam Smith's name publicly or you'll be arrested. But you could say the head of research and development told me to do this. That's very easy to say. So why he doesn't describe the person by using their job title, I don't know. But he may legally not be able to tell you Sam Smith is at the core of this.
Even if they're committing a crime that we can prove.
Well, you know, what he would have to do is go to somebody like Larry Klayman, who is the founder of Freedom Watch and Justice Watch, and say, I have information about criminal behavior at NSA. I need you to go to Congress for me and get permission for me to tell them the name of the criminals, because otherwise it's illegal for me to give their names to the public. It's illegal for me to give their names to anybody who does not have a top secret clearance. So I need special immunity to do so. Now, the exception would be if somebody at NSA had already been named in the news and was well known. Like if you said the director of energy of NSA, General Michael Hayden, told me to do this, he can say that because General Michael Hayden was known to be the director of the NSA publicly. He was in the news, so there was no big deal revealing his name.
Okay. So in other words,
if the head of, let's say, the research and the research department told him to do it, well, he can't give his name publicly because the public doesn't already know his name.
Okay, so what if I'm a person that never worked for the NSA and I found out and got some names? Am I allowed to go out and expose
Good question, sir.
Yeah, it's been harassed?
I think you're not bound by the agreement signed by employees.
Okay, so by my civil rights, I'm allowed to go and pretty much go, hey, you know what, I think this might be the person because all this investigation that I've been doing, and these are the names that I came up with. Now I would like to do another investigation to make sure which one is which. So that will be okay.
You know, when you work for the National Security Agency, you sign certain papers saying you will not divulge top secret information, okay? So you have never worked for them. You did not sign those papers. Let's say Bill Smith comes to you and says, I'm an NSA agent and I'm going to kill your dog. You're welcome to go to the papers and say, Bill Smith came to me and told me he's an NSA agent and he threatened to kill my dog.
No, thank you. I understand. I was just curious because, you know, because they are doing, they're not like sitting there picking on us like if you see them physically and harassing. They're basically torturing us. That's a little, I mean, it's extreme. Yeah. You know, every single story you hear, everybody's having some type of problem where, God, you just sit there and go, what gives them the right to do that? You know, everybody knows, especially when you become a CIA agent, you know the different levels of violence.
I'm going to find this guy.
You know?
Careful.
Thank you for that information. I was just curious because, you know, I know that the laws have so much different type of regulations, and I know every single different type of agencies have their own rules and regulations under the law. So I'm pretty sure there's a way around it.
Well, I will tell you that there is, and I don't remember the name of it, but there is a law, there's a federal law that says you cannot claim classification of information merely to cover up a crime. Let's say Project Hoodoo is basically the project that goes out and poisons T.I.'s dogs, okay? And then if you get asked about it, you work on Project Hoodoo, and then they say, well, we want you to tell us about Project Hoodoo. Let's say you're in front of the Congress, and you say, nope, can't do it. It's classified. Well, you've just broken the law that says you cannot hide a crime by claiming classification.
Yes. True.
Do you know
So
the
that's
penal
something that
code
needs
or
to
the
be in
law
our
that it's under?
paperwork when we demand answers as well. They have to prove
Hold on, guys.
that there is a valid reason for.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cowboys and cowgirls, settle down.
That sounds better.
Oh, man. But, all right. Where that came from, but...
Can I ask you a question off the subject? Hello?
Yes.
Is it to me or somebody else?
Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Hello?
Go ahead, Karen.
Yes, if somebody wanted to ask me a question, or is it to somebody else?
Yeah, this is Amy. I just wanted to ask you a question. What's your opinion of Robert Duncan? To me, when I looked at his bio, he's just coming from a psychological standpoint and not a spiritual standpoint about Operation Soul Catcher. I disagree that could totally be done without your say-so, without your giving your power over.
I'm going to hesitate to be fully in support of anybody who is not looking at the world from a biblical standpoint. Anybody who thinks that there is a good part of artificial intelligence, I would have to disagree with, because to me that is stepping away from God and the natural. Yeah.
Exactly, it's one-sided, and that's why, a lot of people are saying, well, because he said it, and because he's Dr. Duncan, and I said, well, I don't give a crap if he's Dr. Einstein. To me, just looking at it from his perspective, but anybody can try to play that card and say, I'm going to use these tools to try to use propaganda and try to attack someone emotionally by all these different methods. But if I shield myself and say, but publicly, I am not going to agree with that. I am not going to accept it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I disagree with anyone who thinks that they can make people over into something better than what God made.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. That is very true. Thank you.
Yes, Karen, they're trying to play God.
Yes,
that is the problem.
What he says is just from his perspective. He has no spiritual bearing whatsoever. And it's sad.
I tend to walk away from that. If I know somebody is not Bible-based, then I understand that their perspective is not my perspective. And I don't give it as much weight as a biblical perspective. I mean, that's my own prejudice. But, that's me. That's my belief. And I tend to value that more than science without God.
Computers.
All right, Karen, what do you think about a computer, right? It becomes so-called aware. What do you think awareness is? To me, a machine can never be totally aware. Awareness is...
I find that a very scary prospect. I really do.
Yes.
Because you're giving something intellect and power with no morality, with no sense of
no soul.
You know, no soul.
Hang
and
on.
that's very scary because it's going to make decisions based on things that are ultimately foreign to you.
Correct.
That's what they've demonstrated with these new drones. It was in the military newspaper, Dispatch, and it was called the Swarm, where they would think on their own, protecting the swarm. Yeah, really. Camp Pendleton, that's what they do. And
well, you know, any computer can decide that you are a menace to its existence, you know, based on its own input, based on the, you know, whatever people have programmed it to think. It may say, you know what, the world would be a much better place without humans, so let's just kill them all.
That's exactly what I see the way it's going, and it bothers me that, you know, there's drones everywhere. We have no privacy whatsoever, and I understand they use it for good, for actual real criminals, but it just seems like there's no regulation, no regulating these things. They're crashing into people, they're dropping out of the sky, they're taking, you know, dropping off packages at people's door, and somebody else just, you know, swoops it away, and it's, I don't know.
Well,
you know,
the problem is that our technology has surpassed our humanity. We do not have the morality for this type of power. As human beings, we are too flawed to have this kind of power. We have not really changed from Adam and Eve, you know, while our technology has gotten wildly more powerful.
Well, that's because it's about money, right? They want to save money. So that's why I guess over, I don't know, 300 jobs just disappeared in China because their places are just... And that's where I see the economy disparity.
Losers.
Yeah.
Scrubs.
Well, over the years, over the decades, let's say in the 1960s, the normal CEO made, I forget how much more he made than the average employee, but nowadays the average CEO makes 40 times more than his employee, as where maybe, you know, back in the 60s it was 5 times more. So the more people don't need employees, then you've got a civilization where you've got a lot of excess people who don't have a way to make a living, and that becomes very dangerous. You know, you can make technology such that you get to the point that it has taken over and, you know, it endangers our lives. I mean, the bottom line is not the only thing that counts. I mean, you could mechanize your entire business, but they don't think far enough ahead. If you fire all your employees and have all the robots do this or that, then if these people in your area are not making any money because they don't have any jobs, who's going to buy your product? So some of these people just really don't even think ahead.
Yeah, Bill Gates had talked about that on Charlie Rose.
A little bit. Partly, they're the Earth. They're the Earth. Hey,
with Santos and all these other companies, it seems they want to deflate the population and make excuses saying that the climate is destroying theirs, so we need to destroy the people.
Well, you know, climate change to a degree is cyclical, but it seems to have been taken over, and this is from the head of, let's see, Sierra Club. He said he basically had to leave Sierra Club because it was taken over by people who are trying to use it politically to control all human beings on the planet for political reasons, not really for anything having to do with the environment. So that is, to a degree, a ploy. And like I said, there are things in nature that, weather-wise, they're cyclical. Like we're in a 40-year, or we're starting a 40-year high for hurricanes, that, every 40 years they're stronger than they are before, and maybe another 40 years they're at the lower end. So in your lifetime or my lifetime, we may see either all low occurrences of hurricanes or all high occurrences of high-powered hurricanes and think that's normal. But people who study the weather will say, no, we're in yet a different cycle at this point. So some of it is natural and meant to be that way. Some of it, I would not be surprised to find out that it's man meddling with the weather on purpose. And they are trying to weaponize weather as well.
Yeah, with the HAARP.
Right, exactly.
I think other countries have the same capability to use HAARP. I don't know if they do.
Well, India just went through, the area of Andhra Pradesh just went through a heat wave for several months that was 120, 124 degrees.
I saw that.
And I read somewhere that they said that, 500 to 1,000 people had died from it, but the real number was much higher.
Yeah,
and they didn't want to release that.
Oh, yeah, too. They had the worst drought in over 300 years. Yep, everything we do. And then on top of it, what they have the capability to do. And I really feel that they did cause the tsunami. It was a beta test. And Katrina and Haiti were beta tests of different people that I talked to. And heads of agencies. I was supposed to go with the Red Cross to help out with Katrina when I came back from Rocky Freedom. And any team of people I talked to, I found out it was a beta test.
Oh, dear God.
And it just makes me
that really says something when people think they can kill off other people for experiments. I mean, it's just horrible.
Yeah, and for money, because then they can contract, they can, get government funding to, for this grant or that grant at the expense of human beings. They don't look at it as human beings.
Yeah, but this is nothing new. Oh, sorry. This is nothing new. It's just history repeating itself. It's people have been used as guinea pigs down through history. And unfortunately, hypocrisy is socially acceptable. And that's been our problem. We have not lived what's been written. As far as the Constitution goes, down through history. So it's really nothing new. It's just that we've gotten a lot more treacherous with it because of technology. The evil has always been there.
Well, that's true.
So it's just,
there always seems to be one set of people who think that they're better or more entitled than another set, and deciding who lives or dies, and that's not their right.
That's right.
Yeah. Like the case that happened with that little baby from the UK, they're going to basically pull the plug on Friday, and the U.S. said, that we have the life-saving capability to take care of that child, but because it's money, and I was stationed in England, so I know that they're on that social medical program, just like what they try to implement with Obamacare and the new healthcare system, whatever it's called now, affordable health. People are losing their health care and getting less benefits and having to pay more. And it's just atrocious. So now they've just deemed in California and other states that the suicide aid, whatever it's called, is now legal in a lot of states, that assisted suicide. And it shows us where we've gone down the rabbit hole. And I just...
We have, because part of it is hidden eugenics. Basically, they're saying these people are so, let's say this person is age 70, we're not going to treat cancer after 70 because we think it's just too bad, goodbye. And here's a child born with this or that defect. well, we only have so much money, so that child has to basically get thrown to the wolves and see if they survive or not. We don't really care. Yeah, it's kind of like the Nazi eugenics, where they get rid of people they feel are too old or too feeble or, you know, not mentally fit or genetically fit or something. So with some of these healthcare programs, it's hidden eugenics, unfortunately.
It is, and people keep forgetting about the test tube baby and the cloning. That's already in process now, where you don't need a woman's womb. You know, they'll develop it in a petri dish, and you know, basically, they'll be in a tank like an animal.
Well, you know, the horrible thing
they don't
is
have
they can
emotions.
probably basically patent that. Let's say they take a human embryo and throw in a few pig chromosomes and things like that, and then they can patent that life form and then say that human being is, you know, 0.001 pig, and so we own them. They don't have any human rights.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had not thought about it that way. That is so awful.
Well, that's what they're doing with the food. They're, you know, some of these chemtrails are basically dropping aluminum all over, and if you have aluminum in your soil, you really cannot grow a garden, you know. And what they're doing in the meanwhile is Monsanto and these other chemical companies are developing corn and beans and all kinds of things that are aluminum resistant, so that at a certain point in time, you will not be able to grow your own food. You'll have to buy their food, and you'll pay whatever they ask.
Oh my gosh.
Or you'll starve.
Yeah, I see that really around the corner. That is so scary. I heard or looked up something that it was going to be, or is, illegal in some places. I don't know how they can enforce it.
I'm sorry, I missed that. It's illegal to do what in some places?
To grow your own garden, or like these community gardens.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to do that type of thing, and they're trying to prosecute people for collecting rainwater. You know, some areas of the country are saying that's our water. If it falls on the ground, it's basically belongs to the state or to the local government, and you're stealing it, therefore we're going to arrest you. I've read outrageous stories about that. So it's all about control. It's all about changing the laws in the name of the environment or anything else in order to gain more control over people, you know, to keep them from growing their own food, to keep them from getting their own water, because they want everybody under control, and that's a totalitarian state.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember the history books, basically the Nazis got into power and started changing all the laws and changing the German Constitution. Okay? And then once they had cleared the way with laws, then they started their persecution. And by the time we had the Nuremberg trials after World War II and, you know, started prosecuting these people for war crimes, they just would look at us and say, oh, everything we did was perfectly legal under the German Constitution after we changed it.
Well, it shocks me that
it didn't fly with us, but that was what they were trying to do, and that's exactly what they're doing now.
It shocks me that we can arrest Nazi war criminals here, but yet Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld have been tried and accused of war crimes against humanity and a warrant for their arrest, but who has the power to extradite them to The Hague for war crimes, because they cannot go to any UN country, and thank God all along for you know, signed up for that to persecute them for 9/11. That it was a lie. Everything about it was a lie.
Well, the problem is that everything is so corrupt. You know, everything. I mean, the last two administrations, I would gladly put them all in prison. You know.
Yeah. I don't. Prison is too good for them, I think.
Well. Yeah, that's the start. We'll just say that's the start. Trial, a conviction, and prison.
I think it's seemed to really snowball after Bush Sr. Start of Desert Storm, 89. That's when it just went downhill, and I thought he was the benefactor and his heritage been the benefactor.
Oh, very possibly. These things tend to be in play for decades. I mean, these are long-term planners.
Yeah, no doubt. But all we can do is what we can do in our backyard. We can't control the world, but we can change one person at a time. That's a plus.
Well, true, and we need to wake this country up, and if we can take this country back, then we can alleviate a lot of suffering throughout the world caused by our intelligence communities and contractors doing very evil things outside of our borders.
I agree.
Yeah, it's funny. 1 minute, Saddam Hussein was flying over his own country with the CIA. The next minute,
Really?
he's hanging. Oh, yeah. Most assuredly so.
Yeah. Oh, brother.
We'll have to see what happens with Iran and North Korea. North Korea is the dangerous one.
Yeah. I don't understand, if we can do what we did with Iran, why we can't just do the same with North Korea. I've been to Korea. And, yeah, I don't understand why they're taking the soft stance.
China.
Well,
yeah,
China likes that
get
buffer
something
zone.
out of it.
Beijing.
Yeah, they like that buffer zone.
Yeah.
Seem like the stepchild or something. They're like in the middle. They can go either way. But then where is Vietnam on all this? I mean, don't they have some power too?
That's the same type war. I mean, North Korea in the beginning was a police action. Vietnam was a police action.
Yeah.
A war that we couldn't win. Our fighters would fly up to an enemy military installation, radar, and they would say, "Okay, you can't hit that. Stay away from it."
Well, it'll be interesting to see.
It was a
what
war
Trump...
we could win but would not.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many people know, but Hanoi was surrounded by all kinds of dams, and all you had to do was take out the dams and flood the capital of North Vietnam, and the war was over. But they wouldn't do that.
I remember seeing one of those dams too. They showed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
So yeah, I mean, basically, games have been played with American lives for way too long, unfortunately.
Yep, we've been the soldier of the world.
We lost, what, 51,000 men in Vietnam?
I think about that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother fought there, and he got Agent Orange.
Oh, no.
And so he has Parkinson's disease now. So he's he's not in very good shape.
I was reading up on that.
Geez. Well, I hate to say this, guys. It's like 1:37 a.m.
Yeah, I know. The time flies. God.
Are you on the East Coast?
Yes, I am. I'm in Maryland right now.
I hope you got to see the 4th of July fireworks there. How did that go, Frank?
I did not. Yeah. I could not really bring myself to do anything for 4th of July until we're free.
Yeah,
That's
me
right.
neither.
That's quite a statement.
I didn't go anywhere. Yeah, I just don't feel there is that freedom. They try to put on the game.
No, and I hate to say this, but about the only flag I would like to fly is the one from 1776. And the American flags that I see are usually on the perpetrator houses, so it starts to make me ill to see the American flag. So I'm going back to the 1776 one. That's
point.
the only
and
one I'm going to find.
Thank God that play came out, Hamilton. I'd really like to see it. That was a really great thing that he did. And it'll be interesting to see what transpires with Trump meeting with Putin. Maybe it won't be so bad after all. You know, they seem to be buddies.
Well, I will tell you two things about them. Neither of them are globalists. They're both nationalists. And we are at a point in time that if we're smart, then we will cultivate Russia as an ally, because they're no longer communists. Now, are they totally free? No, because when you transition from a totalitarian state, you need strong leadership. And there are people who would like to take them back to the communist state. So they need a strong leader who's not really entirely, you know, a democratic leader. So at a point in time when they are in less danger of being taken back into communism, then I'm sure they can have, you know, more so democratic elections. But I think we're at the time in history we need to cultivate them as an ally, because they are certainly a lot closer to our values than the communist Chinese, who are basically capitalists with no morality. You know, they don't care if what they send us for baby food is tainted with poison. They don't care if they send, you know, baby toys or children's toys coated with lead paint. They don't care. Putin, on the other hand, is he and his family were secret Christians apparently during the communist reign, and he's come out very strong in support of the Russian Church.
Wow.
And protecting Christianity from ISIS.
That's enlightening.
So, like I said, the people who are, you know, screaming their heads off, throwing tantrums if anybody says boo to Putin, are just really misled, mistaken, ignorant, because this is the time to make allies and have one less enemy in the world.
They're very. When I saw one of those traveling shows about, you know, tourism, they're very much like us. I mean, they have so many freedoms in their country. They are very much, you know, they're not like the poor with, you know, wearing the bonnet and begging for food. It's not like that at all in Russia.
No, they're making progress. So, like I said, the hysteria over, Russian communists, well, number one, they're not communists anymore. They are not a constitutional republic. They are not a democracy, but they are in transition. And for a transition from such a totalitarian state, you do need a strong leadership, unfortunately, because there are many people within Russia who would love to see them go back again. So, you know, there's some leeway there that I give Putin.
I agree.
You know, he's much better than what we could have to deal with, but hopefully somebody even better comes along if we cultivate it.
I agree. Got to be an upswing.
But I mean, the thing that alarms me is this Russian narrative, like the Russians did it, and we're poking our finger into the eye of this power that is a great power. I'm sorry, but they are, you know, and it's just a horrible mistake to me. I mean, when you know, the people doing it know they're lying, you know. I mean, there is a certain amount of, you know, the Americans basically will look into certain elections to see who may be the leader, because they want to know ahead of time. And I'm sure the Russians looked into our elections to give them an inkling as to whether it would be Trump or Hillary, because they have to plan their strategy against, you know, who they think is going to win. Well, you know, like I said, we do the same thing. We even look into the elections of allies.
We copied them in so many ways, and our country imported those Hitler scientists over here, and you know, people forget that NASA was actually formed from the Russian scientists.
The Nazi scientists?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Bible, basically, you know, God tells the Israelites to go into certain areas and eradicate certain people that are so evil that he doesn't want them to be toxic to the Israelis at all. And we should have absolutely ditched any and all information that came from Nazi experiments and just trashed it, just burned it all, you know, because once you start bringing toxic ideas into your country, it'll turn on you. I mean, it's just like Nietzsche said. Nietzsche said, if you look into the abyss long enough, the abyss will look back. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it was all about them harnessing the power.
Yeah.
But
gotten by people dying and being tortured, which is obscene. You should never take any type of information from that is ill-gotten goods like that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, all we just need is a couple positive ideas and a couple of things that we can change, you know, one person at a time, and that's all we can do. And pray.
Well, I invite anybody to send me an email with ideas, or that type of thing. Like I said, it could be somebody who's never said a word on a phone call, and just one day they say, hey, I have an idea, and they send it, and bingo, that's our breakthrough.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. This is the first time that I've had the chance to talk with you. I'm grateful. I've heard you on some of the calls, but I just didn't speak because I wasn't in a good place in my heart, in my head. And it's been like that for some time, but, battling my demons, one day at a time, and we all do. But, the good thing is I can just listen in and feel some connection. And if I can give some positive feedback or a different spin, and we all have a good spin on something. Everybody's got, different parts to the pie, and I think we are progressing forward. We are making success.
I think so.
We are making headway.
I think so, and I tell people, hang in there.
Yeah, we're in for the long haul. So thank you for that, and I thank Frank and everybody else who's, really been inspirational, and this has really been a great journey that we're on. It's not about the destination, it's about what can we do for each other along the way.
I think so, and it's awakened maybe a sense of community in some of us, Sense
of community, yeah, that's well put. I felt the disconnect for too long, and I'm glad that we have.
It comes down to, are you your brother's keeper or not? And the answer is yes, because we want this entire community to come out of this,
Right. Yeah, I want everybody to win over these small victories one at a time.
Oh, and I thought the best idea, or one of the best ideas that I did hear this evening, was to go to that site and find out about the TIs that have passed away, so that we can find out the causes, maybe see exactly what they died of. What was it? Suicide? Was it? But that's a good idea.
And to research, what were their properties, et cetera, in their name. Can we find that out after they've passed away, or is that cleaned off the books? I don't know that.
That would be in probate. That would still be in a probate file. Whether we have access to it is something else again.
Right.
We'll find out.
But that is something else to look into as a possible avenue to proving or disproving this. I think proving it, because what I've seen makes me believe that yes, indeed, this is exactly what's going on. And some of the research was done as a test group. A handful of people who basically perished in 9/11 in New York City. They're very unique names. I mean, Jim Smith and names like that were not taken as a test, but some very unique names were taken to see if perhaps they had all kinds of insurance policies past what was normal for the family to have on them. And it would appear that in the sampling that every single person turned up with suspicious trust funds and properties and insurance It's way past what a normal person would have, which was, you know, that was 100% of the sampling.
Wow, didn't know that.
So that needs a lot more research, because you're talking about 2,700 something people who perished, and who probably almost all had this type of asset stripping attached to their identities. And that would have been in the months before 9/11, indicating that it was very much known that they would be killed.
You know, Karen, we need an office somewhere, one whole floor of a building, just to research this stuff.
Well, unfortunately, that makes us a target. So what we have to do is have small groups.
Yep.
And bear in mind the type of expertise that we need. And if you find a TI who says, oh, yeah, I work trusts all the time, or I used to, send them our way, you know?
Right.
Because we need people knowledgeable in that type of thing.
Well, I think if we look among all the TIs that we know of that are registered, and some of them that are just coming forward now, there are a lot of knowledgeable people.
Exactly, and we need to harness that, the paralegals, the lawyers, the, you know, people who do work in real estate law or just real estate, you know, all that kind of thing we need. Absolutely, because, you know, it takes a while to teach somebody how to do this, but if they've already got part of this under their belt, then it takes no time at all, and they give added value to what they find because of their expertise.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's what I was on, I think, one of Derek's calls one evening, and Spencer was speaking about legal avenues, and I just brought up we have to have a target first, and that's, oh, we're going to sue the government. Which part of the government? You probably know that better than I do, Karen, but you definitely have to have one branch of the government or individuals on the patents that actually invented the stuff, but you have to start with a target somewhere.
Right. Well, you also have to start with something that can be easily recognizable. And if you've got the FBI and all these other people denying that directed energy weapons exist, then you've got to hit them with something they can't refuse to investigate, which is identity theft and fraud.
Right.
So this may be the back door that breaks everything open. And the means by which they're killing people will be incidental. They'll find out it's electronic harassment, it's electronic weapons, it's unconventional, you know, it's gassing people, it's poisoning people, it's injecting people with bacteria or mold. But the crime is identity theft and murder. This they can recognize.
Yeah, let's follow the money.
Exactly.
One question off topic here. What do you think that there is any kind of connection to bloodlines like Rh negative, Rh positive, A, B, O?
You know, I've heard banter about that, but I don't really know. I can't tell you that I think that that is plausible or not plausible. I mean, we're dealing with psychopaths, and one element of them could be absolutely obsessed with Rh negative blood because they think Rh positive blood and all the others are blah, blah, blah. You know, sometimes it doesn't, you know, if a psychopath believes something, it doesn't matter that whether it's true or not. It's the problem is that he believes it. You know, like if the police came and made an announcement saying that there's a psychopath out there killing everybody with red hair because he thinks that they are witches. You know, it doesn't matter that people with red hair are not witches, but it matters that the psychopath believes that they are. So is the Rh factor, is that something these psychopaths are obsessing with that makes no sense whatsoever? Maybe. maybe. It could be certain, section of the psychopaths are obsessed with this, and another section is obsessed with something else entirely. And yeah, we need to know, is there a section being targeted because we have black hair and blue eyes? So that needs to be found out so we can defend ourselves, or find that there's a pattern in Maine because they're going after people with black hair and blue eyes because they're afraid that they're angels from God and will destroy them, But as to the actual difference in the Rh negative, I don't know of anything supernatural or especially good or bad about that, but it is, again, what they believe, not what is actually factual.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon.
It is. And, it's not a bad thing to speculate if you find that there's any type of pattern, because what needs to go on is that you identify the pattern and see if it is an actual real pattern that goes anywhere. Because you may find, no, that's not a pattern that works at all. Or you may have a brand new lead. So anything is worth looking into. Like I said, not only because, like you can look into something that's not necessarily factual, again, only because maybe the psychopaths believe that it is.
Yeah, when I saw that movie Angels and Demons, it talked about, the divine, lifeblood of Jesus and the connection with Mary and all that. And I did some reading about Greek mythology. We were taught that it was just mythology, but then when I started kind of picking it apart and looking into these tribes, these 12 tribes of Judah and, Abraham and all that, Noah, Genesis, and giants, I started to realize maybe there is something to that Zeus supposedly was one and the same, called by Lucifer, Satan, that was another name for him, and that these sun gods or, gods of lust or goddesses of lust, they were the original fallen angels or hybrid angels or whatever you want to call it. So these, 300, 400 feet tall, giants that walk the earth. So it's just interesting to think about so much that was left out of the Bible. And so that's why I really want to get more into
there are
the
things
theology.
that are hinted at. There are things that are hinted at that we read and go, what? What did I just read?
Yeah.
What does that mean? No, I understand.
Opening my mind.
I've looked at the same things. But anyway, like I said, it's probably like 2 o'clock here in the morning, and I'm going to have to sign off.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You have my email if you'd like to ever email me. That's fine. And Frank, thank you for the invitation. It's been very interesting
Frank,
and very productive, I think,
Frank, you still there? I guess you stepped away.
Nope, I didn't. You know what I did?
Oh, okay.
I've got a button right on my shoulder.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm going to be signing off here.
Okay.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, too.
Yeah. Night now.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Night. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't had a chance?
Did everyone leave?
Nope, we still got about 20 people.
This is Mary.
Oh, hi, Mary. How you doing?
Hi. Actually, I have a splitting headache, but I'm sure many of you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's been a very interesting. This is my first time in. I had a hard time getting in, but I'm very happy to be part of the group.
Oh, great.
So thank you for helping me get in here.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. And we have another call Friday from 6 to 9. It's an early call.
Okay.
And same numbers. It's always the same phone number and the same number to get in. So.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm here.
How you doing?
James?
Who do we have?
A very, very talented athlete.
Who do we have?
The number one.
Okay, folks, I guess it's time to call it a night.
Well, thank you, Frank. This is Letitia Peters.
Hi, Letitia. You have a good night's sleep now. I'm going to get one myself.
Yeah. Yes, we all should.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night now.
Good night.
I think we got somebody snoring already. There is some.
Yeah, I think a couple of people were snoring. I heard.
All right. God bless all.
Patience.
God bless you.
God bless. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.